Hey, what's up?
All right.
He was doing that like while the while the intro was going. You just started drinking. Don't get all excited.
No, when I swallowed it, I was like, Now Pookie's looking at you like, what the hell's wrong? No, it's okay. We're not mad. We're not mad.
She's like, is somebody mad at me? Did I do something bad?
No, we're just getting ready to fucking start the show.
It's all right, Pookie. You're fine.
Today, it's another Haunting Mondays.
Yes, it is.
Talk about paranormal cases of the Haunting series, because there's so many of them, and you guys are fucking great fans of them. Many seasons.
These are
I
fun.
think I have a total of 9 seasons.
These are fun to do. Yeah. Well, we have this first 7 seasons in physical medium, and then we bought the 8th season.
Yeah, the 8th season. There's more seasons there, but you can't get it on DVD though. It's
past season 8, past season 7, past season 7, I think that was the last one they did like on DVD, like in physical media, and then they just went online only.
After that, it's online only.
So we bought season 8, but there's one was there one season that we couldn't buy?
Yeah, it wasn't for sale. It was there, but they said it's not available. Not
available for whatever reason. I don't know. It must be probably like a rights issue. I think
there's a couple of them like that.
Yeah, but it's like we'll eventually. I don't even think we've watched all of season 8 yet, have we?
No, and I think
I've seen them off.
There might be like 11 or 12 seasons.
I think there's more than that, actually. They might have gone up to 12 or 13, maybe. Yeah. But this one was Tom Sykes' recommendation.
Yeah.
Which is a change, because usually Danny Rolling Ghostface recommends them, because he's like a super fan. But this one was a Tom Sykes recommendation. This was actually a good one. This was season 7. Episode 9, Nightmare in the Attic. And it's weird because
I didn't remember this one, but it's good.
We have season 7. Yeah, we have like a multi-pack DVD of all of them. And we watched them at some point, but I barely remembered this one. But this was actually like a decent episode. It wasn't as silly as I thought it was going to be, like from the intro.
You start getting into season 7, and because you're so familiar with this series, they all kind of start to feel the same. And you get confused. And like I said, the titles are easily forgettable because they're all basically the same.
Yeah.
Something or other horror. That horror in the basement. Attic up in your booty. Just weird shit like that. You never fucking know what
Evil from the grave.
Evil from the grave. Yeah. Fucking, the shadow from within. I just made that shit up.
There might be one called that, though.
The evil spirit from without. Just sure. Stupid shit. That's gas. But
the demon on the roof.
Yeah.
Something.
So when we were watching this one, I was like, I recognized the people, the witnesses, and it's a fun episode. It's a fun case.
Like a phantom hair.
I don't know if it really happened, but we're gonna get into it. I don't think it's poltergeist. It would be haunting, I think. I mean, possibly something like poltergeist, but
yeah, they were at first going in a haunting direction, and then it kind of went a little more demonic. They weren't like super. I liked that this one didn't have an exorcism or a cleansing or anything like that, because that kind of gets a little samey after a while too. Yeah. This one, they basically just brought in a relative that was kind of like a psychic, and she's like, yeah, this place is fucked up, you need to get the hell out of here. And like so much bad shit had happened that they were like, okay, so they just did.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they didn't really have a lot of church involvement in this one, which is interesting because I found out later, they did mention this on the show, but that the guy that was on there that was like a son, he was like a kid when this stuff happened. He was 8. He became a paranormal investigator later on, which is something that happened on a few of the other, episodes that we talked about. And he has written a couple of books. Like, I found 3 books that he'd written. One of them, interestingly, was available to read on Kindle Unlimited, which I have. So I kind of, like, scrolled through it, but I didn't, like, want to read the whole thing because it wasn't about this case. He did write a book about this case fairly recently, like in 2018, but he wrote one in 2015 about another family that was also featured on a haunting. That was the episode that I think was also from season 7 that was called Child's Play. Nothing to do with Chucky.
Now, some people might discount this and go, well, they're involved in this as a business, so of course they're going to... Man, I don't look at it that way. I saw a poltergeist. Jenny wrote about it. And then she started on the back of that one, she started writing about other cases through Steve Mera, parapsychologist from
Yeah,
England.
like about his cases.
And then she wrote an Unseen Hand. I'm plugging the books right now, Jenny.
Yeah, I see that.
She wrote Unseen Hand, which is like one of the biggest collections of poltergeist cases throughout history. Steve said, "Man, this is like a reference book." This
well, that's
like
kind of why I wrote, because there wasn't really one like that.
Right.
I felt like.
So, but he added that to his library of fucking cases to go to. So anyway, just because you end up writing something about it later, that doesn't disqualify you.
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not real.
Because the shit I saw and me and my family saw was real.
I mean, just because the Amityville Horror was bullshit,
doesn't mean that it's always bullshit. I mean, I got pictures from back in the 80s of us taking, chairs upside down and fucking towels rearranged. Why the fuck would I get in a time machine and go back to the 80s and take pictures of towels?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No,
especially using Polaroid film, which was not cheap.
Yeah, no, it's because we didn't know what else to do.
And there was only like 8 or 12 of them in the little packet, you know what I mean? So you couldn't waste that.
That was all we had. We didn't have very many photos, and every time it moved something, we'd go take a picture of that. We'd take a picture, to somebody who wouldn't, if somebody didn't have any context, they'd be like, "Why the fuck are you doing? Why are you arranging towels?
Why are you wasting your Polaroid film on taking a picture of a bunch of towels?
Why are you taking pictures of a damn rocking chair upside down?" Yeah, there was a reason for it. Yeah. That's how we found it. Right. So I'm not going to discount the case. Yeah, I've never seen a case quite like this in person. It was like a demonic haunting. According to Steve, he says these cases exist, that he's seen weaker ones, but that they're out there. Where it's kind of like a mixture of haunting and poltergeist. Or a ghost that has the ability to move objects, basically. And sometimes throw people around. I associate that with RSPK, poltergeist. All right, but he says there are some cases that are kind of in between, and I'd probably put this case in that kind of an in between.
Yeah, this one seemed a little bit weird. Like it had like a lot of kind of something for everybody.
Yeah, if it happened, it's something in between. I don't discount it. You had some elements of RSPK or poltergeist. You had a kid who was about 8 in the house, and you have a girl that's about 17. So there might be a chance of there being one of the two being a poltergeist focus. And it was a bigger family. There was some turmoil in the family, so it may be poltergeist. But if the story is, if it happened the way the story is told, it would be. Steve would call it demonic haunting, I think is what he would call it.
And I'll note that the house, I mean, if, like I said, we're just operating on the assumption that everything they're saying is true, then there were rumors about the house before they got there. Yeah. Because they were just renting it, you know what I mean?
So the house was a bad place, which I've been in bad houses before.
If you're a regular listener, it had a reputation around the neighborhood.
Every bad house I was in, it was mostly one bad house that sticks into mind. Nothing ever moved. It was just a bad house. Everybody could feel it. Even people that didn't even know that it was a bad house would go, ooh. But it looked totally normal. It just felt like you were being watched wherever you went. Like an unnatural stillness. Had bad dreams in there and shit. Psychic attacks.
That's kind of what happened in here.
Yeah. Psychic attacks. For something, you feel like something invisible just trying to get up into the back of your fucking neck and get inside your skull, and you don't know what it is. It's just some kind of invisible attacker. And then you're like, man, and then it passes, and you're like, man, am I crazy? Or did that happen? But I'd already seen poltergeist. I was like, no, that happened. And my army buddy was with me, fucking Eric, and weird shit like that was happening to him too. That he felt like somebody was watching him. You get some ice.
Tom Sykes says, too bad the old pair of shoes didn't do a jig or do the moonwalk.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of we'll kind of get into that, but it's like, we laugh seeing it on the thing because it was kind of funny. But I was like, if I saw that in real life, I would probably shit my pants because that would be really freaky. Although I kind of feel like, see, that kind of stuff is almost freakier to me than seeing an actual apparition would be. I know that's maybe a weird thing to say, but I don't know. There's just something about the incongruity of that's much creepier to me than it just seeing a fucking ghost standing there, Yeah, I'd probably shit my pants if I saw an actual ghost too, but I'm just saying for some reason, just shoes moving on their own. Shit like that is creepier to me. I don't know why. Do you get what I'm saying?
I guess.
Like I said, because
I've
it's
seen shit move,
because
so-
it's more like incongruous. Like I
Yeah.
said, it's more like it doesn't have as much context, I guess. Like if you see like a ghost standing there, you're like, oh, it's a ghost. You know what I mean? But it's like if you see something like that, you're like, what the fuck is that? You know what I mean?
I mostly just saw things. It wasn't just me, my aunt, my uncle, and everything. Just things thrown from a direction where there was nobody standing, and weird phenomena. Mostly just objects being thrown, or objects appearing and sometimes disappearing within your field of vision, but you weren't quite looking at them at the time when it happened. Which there's some kind of quantum effect going on there. Although some of the stuff that I saw, I was looking right at it, but then in a blink of an eye, it was moving towards me. It hit me in the chest like that damn big pin. That was weird. It hit my chest, bounced off, and then sucked back in through the crack in the door as I was looking at it through the crack in the door. And it hit me and went back in there.
Like
Bam!
man,
It was fast, like a bullet. And it made a lot of noise when it hit me. And Red was standing right next to me. And I slammed the door after it bounced off of me.
it's like
and
motherfucker threw a
I said, "You see that?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "That didn't happen." And he goes, "Yeah, it did." And I said, "No, it didn't." That didn't. And I just pushed that out of my mind. I kind of tried to erase that event. Weird. But then I thought I imagined it. And I asked Red, I said, "Did that pin hit me?" And he goes, "Yeah." And then it went back into the room.
The poltergeist was mad because you asked it to write something.
Yeah, I was trying to get it to write something. I was watching that pin. I thought that pin was going to jump up and start writing.
And instead,
Within a
it was
blink
like,
of an eye, it
"Fuck
was
you."
across the room coming tumbling, and it hit me, pow, and went right back in. And I was 15, 20 feet from it.
Yeah, pretty creepy.
Wild shit.
Zach says, rare though they may be, I love stories of people who had hauntings from kind or helpful ghosts. I kind of like those too, actually. Maybe we should do a whole show about that. I was going to do a show about ghosts who solve their own murders, but I don't think it ever won, like in the thing.
I think we talked about that one that was
Oh wait, no,
showcased.
we did do a show about that, didn't we?
I think we talked about that one that we found off of Paranormal Witness about the car that wrecked on the side of the road and the mama died. And the
That's
little kid was
I
in
think
the
we were
back,
talking about that, yeah.
And people saw the mama standing on the road.
Or laying in the road.
And then they called the cops, and there was no woman laying in the road.
Yeah.
Then they found a little boy down in the back seat with the dead mama. And he had been in there, a day or two?
Oh, no, I thought it had been longer than that.
Longer than that? Yeah.
But yeah, like she had run off the road. It was like a wreck.
Yeah.
And she had died in the wreck, but the kid was still alive. So it's almost like they thought it was on. I think it was on Unsolved Mysteries. It wasn't on It might have been on Paranormal Witness too, but I'm pretty sure we saw it on Unsolved
I
Mysteries.
thought she'd gotten abducted or something, but no, she just evidently fell asleep behind the wheel, I guess, lost control of the car.
or something. Yeah, just the car spun out,
Went
and it
over-
went into
yeah.
like the woods, like
Went into the woods.
into like a ravine,
down
and
in the
nobody
ditch.
could see it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so like some people were just like driving through randomly and they saw like a naked woman
Yeah.
like laying in the road, and they were like, what the fuck? And then like they stopped, and then they couldn't see it, but they called the cops because they were like, we're pretty sure we saw a naked woman like laying in the road.
Yeah.
And then the cops came out there and like, look, we can't find anybody. But then while they were searching, they actually found the
that
next
car.
And they found the kid who was
Yeah.
like still alive, like
Yeah.
in the car, even though he'd been in there. I think he was in there 3 days.
Yeah.
I could be remembering it wrong, but yeah, I think we did maybe do a show about ghosts who solve their own murders, and maybe that was kind of like, well, that wasn't really a murder, that was just like an accident, but you know what I mean?
The little boy said that he would be in there with the dead mama. He could remember that. He could see a big blue glow
That's right.
Around.
Yeah.
around them both. And he
God,
said
can you imagine how fucking horrifying that would be? Like just being like in the car with like your dead mom
Yeah.
for like days and days.
He was a little kid.
I know, but still.
He said that he felt like he was being protected. If I remember correctly, he said the blue glow was protecting
like she
him.
was hanging around.
Yeah.
Like making sure that somebody found
Yeah,
him.
and that's actually, most people don't become ghosts or come back. But a mother probably would.
Well,
With
in that
a baby in
situation,
danger, there's
I
a
could-
reason for it. Before she moves on and joins up with the fucking great cosmic consciousness and disappears within the sea, I saw
Well, yeah,
that
she
during
wanted to make sure that somebody found him.
Yeah. I had a near-death experience and an out-of-body experience even before that, and I saw where you go when you die. It's just like a big ball of white.
It better be cool.
Of singing and shit like that.
I'm
And you know that if
believing
you
it.
go in there, you're not coming back out. Yeah.
But you're okay with it.
Oh yeah, you want to go to it. It's going back home type of deal. It's like an ocean of fucking. It's what the Greeks would call the pleroma. The place from which the gods come from and return. like a cosmic singularity outside space-time and shit.
Zach says, I wrote that down. I love that idea. You could include Christina Aguilera's too. Does getting someone off count as being a helpful ghost?
Yeah.
I guess so.
What is he talking about?
You know. Didn't he mention earlier how Christina Aguilera said that she'd had sex with a ghost or something?
I don't know.
Like that? I thought he mentioned something about that.
That girl's on drugs.
Tom Sykes said reincarnation is more believable. Yeah, I'm not really sure if I believe in that or not, but I don't know. I've heard some weird stories, but I don't know if I can make that final push. We did a show about reincarnation, did we not? I think it was a while back, but
based on my NDE, there is a reincarnation, but it's not all that linear. It's not like one life, and you're not the same when you come back every time. You're not the same person. You know, you don't have the same. Just your consciousness kind of fucking can inhabit a creature or a being and live that life, and then it goes back into the pleroma, and then it can come back out, and it's outside space-time. So your next life may be in the past. It may not necessarily be in the future. It might be in the past, and it may not be a human.
One thing that they say a lot about, it's like I said, I don't really know if I believe in reincarnation or not, but I'm leaning toward no. But it's just kind of like, one thing that they do say a lot though is that a lot of times like kids will say creepy shit, like that they remember like past lives and shit like that. But once they get past like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, they don't talk like that anymore. Yeah. So maybe it's a thing where, if there's some other kind of like thing and you inhabit some other body, like you kind of forget after a couple of years. Yeah.
When I had that motorcycle wreck, I was in a coma. I had a near-death experience before the accident, so I wasn't even in there when the accident happened. Because time space is fucked up, but I had it.
He popped out.
Popped out before the fucking accident happened, a couple minutes before. Or maybe about a minute, I guess. And how that happened was weird. I thought I was looking at my shadow, but I was actually looking down at myself riding a motorcycle. And then I was like, where's that light coming from? And turned around, and there was a big ball of light that came down and got me. And then I was in a place, and there was people that knew me there, and this big being started talking to me. He was kind of like my guidance counselor, I guess. He's saying, you got to go back. It's not time type of deal. And I could see behind him this big fucking white ball. It all looked like it was made out of welding arcs, fucking super bright. This big, bright ball, and I could hear all this. When I say hear, it's just I could feel all this singing and shit coming from it. Kind of like singing. And then there were other ones around that were talking to me. Ones that I knew in some way. I don't know if they were me in past lives or people that I knew in the past, or I don't know what it was. It was just like an entourage greeting me,
Tom's posse.
Yeah. One of them was just head and shoulders. They're kind of like statues. They weren't moving, but they were speaking telepathically, images and shit. And one of them looked like our friend. What's her name? I think I told you about her already. One with all the real cool costumes. She moved away. You did a poster of her one time.
Olivia?
Olivia. She looked a little bit like Olivia. When I saw Olivia, I was like, man, that was like that one that was talking to me.
It's like, hey, you were one of the dead people I was talking
she
to.
had a big, but the thing is when I was sitting, she had a hood on and braided hair with all kinds of stuff in it, with bone in it, little beads and shit. And she was more animalistic looking. She had what's called facial what's it called? Facial prognathius, where a slight muzzle. And I was looking at her, and I was like, it was easy that this being that was talking to me, and she was only about 4 something, little. That she was at least part Neanderthal. So it was some kind of ancient woman, But it was somebody that I knew, but pretty, but kind of like, it was kind of an idealized version of like a part Neanderthal looking woman. It looked like somebody out of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
That
is very interesting.
Yeah.
A black cloaked lizard lady. Yeah, maybe. Not a lizard, but
a what?
Maybe more kind of like werewolfy or.
No, she looked like a tribal woman, and
Zach said, sounds like she looked like a Pict warrior. They were around during the single-digit centuries in Scotland.
Maybe, I don't know. I was under the impression that it was ancient. We were talking about like tens of thousands of years old. Like tens of thousands of years ago.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Maybe so. Yeah, I mean, black cloaked lizard people, that's who we're going to be talking about on the show today. Well, the thing about it is that, here's the thing. When we first started watching this episode, and you know how they do the little kind of like coming up on a haunting, you know, it's kind of thing where they show you like what you're going to see, like a little bit of a trailer. I was like, wow, this one looks kind of silly. But then when you watch the actual episode, a lot of the stuff they showed in that was a lot of it was like it happened in a dream. So you know what I mean? So it wasn't like, oh,
they're having weird dreams.
We were really like seeing this stuff in real life. So I was like, okay, well that makes it like significantly less silly. So I'm kind of glad that they had that. But they did kind of make it look like, I'm not gonna lie, it's like it's because I do kind of feel like the kid, the littler kid, he did say that he saw the reptilian thing like when he was awake, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know how I feel about that, but we'll see. I don't know.
What was that girl's name again? We were just talking.
Olivia.
Olivia, yeah. Okay, go ahead. I'm gonna try to find a picture.
I mean,
of
she
Olivia.
moved away a while back, but yeah, I don't remember. Where'd she move to? Tampa?
No, she moved to another state, I think.
Oh, okay.
She got married.
I thought she moved to Tampa and then maybe moved somewhere else.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she was cool. She had a lot of cool little outfits and stuff.
Yeah. Tom Sykes says good special effects in this episode. Yeah, actually the reptilian makeup and all that kind of stuff was actually really good. And I was kind of into like the old man ghost. He kind of reminded me of, actually when we were watching the episode, I said he's kind of like, you know in Creepshow, you know the episode Father's Day where he's like banging his cane on the chair. I want my cake, Bedelia. He reminded me of that guy. And it's like, so I kept going, I want my cake. Like, that dude reminded me of. Because he was like an asshole like that. But yeah. Tom Sykes says the grown version of the daughter in this episode looked like Andrea Perron, kind of. Yeah, I recognized a couple of the actors. I think one of the ladies that was in this, like, I don't think she had a speaking part, but I think she was in one of the episodes too. Like, I keep seeing the same fucking actors in this. But are you still gonna like, or you want me to like start with this?
Yeah, you can start with that.
Okay. Oh, we have a shout out too, cause we got a new patron last night. Yeah. Yay! So we're whining about it, so I guess that helps. Because we have been getting some new ones. So our new patron is called Tyron. So thank you very, very much.
Yeah, thank you
Tyron.
for becoming a patron.
Yeah.
Because we need patrons. Getting broke up in this bitch.
Getting broke up in this bitch.
Yeah.
That's
lost a lot of our patrons over the past couple years. Lost about half of them. Yeah, we understand it. You know, fucking economy's bad, and some people just get new ATM cards. So
and then they don't think about it. Because, like, I've had that happen, too, where I was
Right.
just kind of like, I had to get a new card because, you know, somebody, like, stole my identity or something like that. And then, you know, I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot that I was having, like, a couple bucks taken out here and there, and I just forgot about it. You know what I mean? It happens. Because I have money coming out everywhere, and I forgot. Yeah. I went in the other day, actually, because I was like, I need to, like, save some money. And so I went in the other day, and I'm like, now, what have I been giving people money to that I forgot about? Like, because, you know, just $5 here, $5 there, that it kind of, like, adds up. And I went in there, and there was all kind of shit. Like, I canceled some of the bigger stuff that I remembered, like the AMC stubs, because I was like, I hate to cancel that, because I like having that, but we just never go. So I'm kind of like, that's like $20-$25 a month that we're not using. So I canceled that. And I had a Netflix, and I canceled that. And there was like some other shit too. But then there was like little shit like, oh, it's like $2 for this like Google thing that I don't use. And like, you know, $5 for this other little, you know, membership thing that I don't use, and all this other kind of stuff. And it was like, it ended up being like $45 or $50, like added up. So I was like, well, shit, I should have done that before.
Okay, that's Olivia. The woman I saw looked like that.
Yeah, that's a good picture of her.
Yeah.
I haven't seen her in a long time.
But it looked like welding arc, like she and she wasn't moving. It was like a statue. But it had bone in her hair, and like her hair was all done, and it was all braided, and it was like going through little round bones, and I could see all the work and the weave in her hood. She had like a hood. She was wearing like a hood on, and kind of like a cloak. You know, but it looked like something from tens of thousands of years ago. It was quite cool. Quite cool.
Zach said, I still think the best ghost on this show was the burned up dude harassing the teen girl. I had nightmares about him when I was little. Yeah, that was actually like a really good one. That was like a really good one.
Yeah.
This has got, I mean, it has some good moments, you know what I mean? And actually, this was, like I said, I didn't remember hardly anything about this episode, but when we were watching it, I was like, that was pretty good. That was like a pretty good, like, creepy episode.
Yeah, it was like it was like something from the first 5 seasons.
Yeah, because I was expecting
like
it to be kind of silly like that,
Right,
like
yeah.
that stupid mummy one, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I keep breaking that.
Yeah, the mummy one and the
That
mummy
dude
one
was
with
trolling.
fucking, yeah,
That dude
with
was
the
trolling.
fucking with the lizard man,
I mean, this one had a
the
lizard
alligator man, Apep.
Yeah. I mean, this one had a lizard person too, to be fair, but at least 99% of the time it was somebody's dream. So I was like, okay, I'll allow it. It wasn't too bad. But yeah. So, Nightmare in the Attic. Let's talk about this case. So, this case concerns the Fox family. Now, prior to them moving to the House of Doom or whatever, that's another episode, House of Doom. I don't think there is one called that, but there probably should be. So they had been living in Iowa, and I guess they lived in a trailer, which, like I said, I'm not going to shit on that because I grew up in a trailer, so you know. So they ended up moving to this little town called Lowell, Arkansas, which I guess is in the Ozarks somewhere. And it's apparently like a pretty small town. I don't know. I've never been to Arkansas, so if you're from Arkansas, let me know where the hell this is. So this all happened in the summer of 1983. So the mom and dad, Carol is the mom. She's actually, well, when this show was filmed, she was still alive, and she was interviewed on the show. Jesse is the dad. He was not interviewed on the show. I don't know if it was because he's dead or because he's not around or because he just didn't want to do it, or I don't know. So the kids at the time in 1983, the daughter is named Mary, and she was 17 at the time, and the son is named Wesley, and he's 8 at the time. Both of them, the grown-up versions, obviously, are interviewed on the show. So it's them and the mom, mainly. So what had happened was the dad, Jesse, had got a job in Lowell, Arkansas at a cannery, I think they said. And the house, I'm assuming, was owned by the company, and they rented out to employees like at low cost, which seemed like kind of a good deal because they said that the house was like super nice. They said it was like really, really big and like really gorgeous. Mary actually called it what she said was Gone with the Wind, Arkansas style.
Yeah.
So it was like this really, really big place, and they had never like seen a house that big ever. And they, like I said, they moved from a trailer, so they were like really impressed.
Yeah, for you non-Americans, the southern zeitgeist goes all the way from like fucking Texas and Arkansas up into Kentucky, Tennessee, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Virginia's, Carolinas, and then down into Florida Panhandle. And then below that, it becomes basically Central America or like the Bahamas, you know. But it's all real similar. You got regional differences, but so the Gone with the Wind thing that she's saying, yeah, she's talking about those old kind of southern plantation colonial.
Yeah, she said it looked like a plantation.
Yeah, that's what she's talking about. Which is it's a house, 2-story house usually, kind of Victorian looking, but it has porches that go all the way around.
And there's big columns in the front.
Columns, yeah. And if it's a French version, it'll have another porch on the second floor. So it'll have 2 porches. A bottom porch and a top porch. That's pretty also. They're still in the French Quarter, those.
Yeah. I feel like this one, I don't know, like the house they showed on there, it probably looked similar to the one that I'm imagining.
Because the South got traded hands so many times, you know. It was native at first. Then Spain and France fought over it, and then it became kind of like, then it became part of the United States, which it started to become more Anglicanized. But, you know, there's this misconception up north that the South is just nothing but Anglos. No, it's the Spanish and the French too, and Indians, and blacks, and whites, Irish, Germans. It's everything. It's all just mixed together. It's just a mixed area.
But, yeah, so they moved to this place and they were, like, super impressed at how nice this house was. Okay, now Mary, she was 17. Now, she had quit school. I'm assuming she had quit school just, you know, soon, like at 16 or 17. So she was the one that took care of the house, like, did all the housework, and she also did childcare for her brother, who was 8. So she, like, took care of him because both the parents worked. Now, I guess Carol worked too, but they didn't say where she worked at. They said the dad worked at the cannery, but they said that both of them, like, worked all the time. So they were gone a lot. They also said, like, the family was, like, super close, but, you know, that's about all they said. Now, what Mary said was that when they got to the house, she instantly fell in love with it. She went in there and she's just like, this is the best house ever. And she still talked about it on the show, and she's, like, much older, obviously. But she still talked about it like it was the best place ever. So we'll get into that a little bit, too. Now, she particularly wanted her bedroom to be in the attic. Like, she went up to the attic, and there's, like, a big room up in the attic, and she's like, oh, my God, this is my room. Because it was, like, really secluded. It's had its own staircase. And I think she liked that it was soundproof because, you know, she was a teenager. It was the 80s. And so she wanted to, like, play her music really loud and not have anybody complain about it. So it was kind of, like, soundproof, and she really liked that about it. Now, later on the afternoon of the day that they moved in, presumably, that's kind of how they made it seem, the parents have to work, like, because I guess both of them have got jobs here now. So Mary is kind of, like, working around the house, unpacking all their stuff, and, like, kind of looking after Wesley, the kid. So she's in the kitchen, like, putting the dishes away, and she said that she felt like somebody was, like, in the kitchen with her, like, behind her. And she said it felt like they were, like, standing really, really close to her, like, in the room. So she turns around, and obviously nobody's there. She said that she also then felt, like, this really cold breeze kind of, like, blowing her hair or something like that, like, on the back of her neck. And she wasn't really sure where it came from. She said it was July when we moved in here, so it was, like, really, really hot outside. This is Arkansas. But she's like, we didn't have the fan on, we didn't have the AC on, there weren't any windows open or anything like that. She's like, but she didn't really think anything about it. She's like, well, you know, it's an old house, maybe there's like a draft or some shit like that. But she's like, the breeze was really cold, so she thought it was like super weird. So while she's doing that, like, Wesley comes in and provides a jump scare. And then he's asking, you know, you have to have that every now and then. So he comes in and says, hey, I'm going to go ride around the neighborhood on my bike, like, go do some exploring and stuff. And she's like, okay, fine, just be back for lunch or whatever. So while he's riding around the neighborhood on his bike, some of the neighbor kids yell at him, and they're like, which I thought was very, very rude. But they're just kind of like, who are you?
Yeah.
You don't live here. They were like that. And, yeah, so I was like, fuck you, assholes. I'm allowed to, like, fucking ride the bike. Okay, Pokey, what's the matter?
We're busy.
What's the matter?
She's hey. She wants brushed, to be brushed. Yeah.
Oh my God, she discovered a new brush, and now we can't. I won't hear the end of it. I don't hear the end of it. She just wants it all the time now. Yeah, see, there she is. So yeah, so like, who the fuck are you? He's like, you don't live here, and he's like, yeah, I do. We just moved in that big house at the end of the block or whatever. So then the girl that's there, you know, the neighbor kid, she's like. She's like, oh, I wouldn't live there if I was you. Everybody knows that house is haunted. And then the kid, or at least the actor playing the kid, he was like so funny. There's no such thing as ghosts. And he gets all like indignant about it, which is like, I don't know why that was so funny to me, but it was. So he just like kind of blows it off, and he's like, there's no such thing as ghosts. I'm out of here. So a few days later, the house is mostly unpacked and set up and everything, which, like I said, man, they're really on the ball with this shit. So the family, they decide, hey, we're going to have like a barbecue. So they invite like some of their family and their friends and like some of the neighbors and shit like that over, and they have like a big barbecue in the backyard because, you know, it's July. So one of the people at the party was Christy. Now, she was what I thought they said this wrong, but I watched it again today and I'm like, no, they said that it was correct. They said that she was Wesley's niece, even though Wesley is 8.
Yeah.
And the niece was older than him? It looked like.
I don't know. I was trying to wrap my head around it, how that happens, but I'm not worried.
That's
about
what I'm sitting there going. I was like, wait, did they
It's
say
the
that
South.
wrong?
It's the South.
I was like, did they mean that was his cousin? I was thinking it was his cousin, but he very specifically said
niece,
that it was his niece and that they were similar in age. Now, the actress that they had playing her looked like she was a couple of years older than him, and I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, I guess that could happen.
I guess it could only happen in a very big family, huh?
But I'm too dumb to figure it out right now. Like, I was sitting there, like, all of a sudden, like, I got really distracted. I was like, wait, how would that work?
Yeah.
How would I have a niece that was older than me? I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess it could happen, but I don't know. So I just thought it was a mistake, but it wasn't. I watched it again, and they very specifically
your
said...
parents, it's because your parents have a lot of brothers and sisters of different ages. And
I guess that, yeah.
That's the only way it could happen.
I mean,
I have cousins that are older than me and younger than me.
Well, yeah, I do too, but that's not weird.
No.
That's not weird.
But aunts and uncles and shit, no. Aunts and uncles are all older than me.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Now I did have an aunt that was only like maybe 7 or 8 years older than me, but it's just kind of like,
it's still enough.
Yeah, so, but like I said, if you have siblings, I guess, that are way far apart in age, then I guess that could happen.
I have an aunt, I think, that is about 8 or 9 years older than me. That's the youngest one.
That's what I mean. Yeah. I have an aunt that's like the youngest one. I think she's, God, how old is she?
Yeah.
She's not that much older than me. I think she's 7 or 8 years older than me.
That's on my mom's side. My mom has 9 sisters.
Yeah, my mom has 7 brothers and sisters.
Talking about a quiverful family. That's exactly 8 what they were. They were a quiverful family, a religious family.
Well, it's weird because my grandparents
and multiplying.
My grandparents weren't religious, but they just had a bunch of kids. They just really like kids, I guess. Yeah.
One of these times,
we're
gonna do a show about that family. Because he worked for NASA, McDonnell Douglas, and all that fucking secret shit, fucking Project Orion, Saturn Project. I got pictures of him. He was a trip, and he was a religious fanatic. That's who worked in those. He worked for General Atomics, because they trusted those guys. If they were real religious, they trusted them because they knew they wouldn't talk to the communists. Back in the Soviet Union, Cold War was on.
Zach says, if it says anything, me and my nephew are only 4 years apart in age. I mean, yeah, okay, I guess that's not weird. But still, it's just like, I don't know. I was like, I got really distracted by this whole thing where he was saying, oh, it's my niece. And I was like, yeah, but she's older than you. And you don't usually see that. So I'm just like, maybe they meant cousin. But no, he said niece.
Yeah.
Like, very deliberately. And he said they were close to the same age. So I'm assuming, I don't know. It was just weird. So anyways, so he's 8, and she looked like she was maybe 11 or 12, I guess, like according to the actress. They didn't have the real person on there. So the two of them are at this barbecue, and they're kind of running around, and they're like, let's go look at the creepy basement, because, that's what kids do. So they're in the basement, like, farting around or whatever, and they find this old school garbage can, like the one that Oscar the Grouch lived in, you know what I mean? Like one of those old metal ones.
Yeah.
And they open it, and there's like a creepy doll in there. Because, of course, there is.
Yeah.
I don't know if there really was, or if they was just like, horror movie. They have to have, like, a creepy doll and everything. So, Wesley pretends like he's trying to, like, freak Christy out. So he's like, did you hear that? Oh, my God. And she's like, what? And then she's like, blah. And then he's like, with the doll. So, again, like, they're using Wesley for jump scares a lot in this one. So she kind of falls for it, but then she's like, oh, Wesley, you silly thing. But then they see these old shoes sitting on the floor that they apparently did not notice before, because Wesley was like, yeah, I hadn't seen them before, and they were just kind of sitting there in the middle of the floor or whatever, just like old-fashioned looking like men's shoes or whatever. Now suddenly the shoes kind of start walking on their own, as though I kind of pictured if it was the Invisible Man, except he was like naked, except all he had was shoes on. That's kind of what I thought. Like, it was just kind of, so they were just kind of walking like that. And, not surprisingly, the kids are like, what the fuck? And they freak the fuck out and ran out of the basement, as you would. So they run out and they tell their mom, Carol, who's sitting at the picnic table in the backyard. But, of course, she doesn't believe them. She's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, goddamn kids, you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. But they show that some of the neighbors are kind of, like, talking amongst themselves. And they're like, oh, I guess all the rumors are true. Should we tell them about all the fucked up shit? No, let's not do that. So apparently there are rumors around the neighborhood. I don't know how long these rumors have been going on, but that there may have been a number of murders and suicides in this house. Although they really only specified like one particular murder that took place. And I don't know if it actually happened or not, but they did say they checked and it happened later, but it was a long time ago. So it's kind of hard to like check up on. So the most persistent rumor was that there was the old guy from Creepshow, who was like this fucker that like lived in this house, this old guy that was like constantly banging his cane on the floor, and he lived in the house. On the show, they said he lived in the house with his wife and his mistress. I'm like, both his wife and his mistress lived in the same house? I'm like, do you have
that usually goes on.
Do you have a death wish? Is that what it is? Apparently he did, because either the wife or the mistress shot him in the fucking face.
Yeah.
God, they were sick of his shit. So I was like, all right.
Back in the day, you couldn't get divorced. All right. Divorce was fucking bad. So, and you didn't want to get rid of your wife, so you kept the wife. You just got.
She was the one doing all your housework.
Well, that was just work was very gendered, you know, fucking. But you didn't want to kick your wife out to the wolves, so you got a new mistress, and a lot of times they moved in. That's just the way it was. But we know people that are like that. You're reading into it. We just call them poly, you know, fucking like Brian.
Yeah, but I'm sure it probably.
guys.
Yeah, but I'm sure it probably wasn't the same situation back then.
I don't know. You're reading into it funny.
But
and another thing is,
well,
is that-
obviously I'm not because
Yeah.
one of them shot him.
well, they
So-
do that. People do that no matter what.
So evidently,
It's just
I don't know how much of a fun situation it was for
a lot of
anybody.
time.
And this was the 1930s.
Yeah, well,
So-
that was after the 1920s. The Roaring Twenties was a sexual revolution.
Sure, but you're kind of like also.
I don't know the situation.
That's what I'm saying,
I
but
don't
you're
know the
pretending like you do.
No, I'm just saying anything's possible. I'm not going to judge it in the 1950s way.
I'm just saying I'm
just
judging
saying.
it by the fact that evidently one of the women shot him.
Yeah, well, he was probably being a dick. It probably didn't have anything to do with the living arrangements per se.
Well, that's what I
Yeah.
mean. Like I said, maybe
Yeah.
they were just sick of his shit.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if like the actor that was playing the old man,
Yeah.
like the ghost old man, if he had seen Creepshow, because that was
Yeah.
for real, like the energy, the vibe
See,
that it was
people,
giving.
if you don't know the show real well, I grew up in Brazil in a Latin culture, and in a Catholic-based society, you don't really divorce your wife; you just get a mistress. But usually, by the time that shit goes down, that wife's sick of that dude. She doesn't. She's like, thank God somebody else is fucking this dude because I'm sick. That's usually what it is. Okay, they're
Thank
like,
God.
Well,
Yeah, I know that's I know
usually
that
what
that's,
it is.
I know that, but it's like
Right.
you're kind of like I'm just saying one of them shot him, so I don't
Yeah,
I don't
what
know
is
what
that?
I don't know what the situation
And a lot
is.
of times, the mistress and the wife have a good relationship. She's just like, yeah, you take care of that. I'm focusing. And
I got my own shit to do.
Yeah, you got my own shit to do. And the wife she still has good living standards, and she goes out and shops, and she's getting. And a lot of times she has a boyfriend. Okay, a lot of times she has a younger boyfriend.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, because the husband is like, yeah, go ahead, have fun, go have fun. It kind of puts the wife out to pasture. Just don't get pregnant, and that's usually the deal, because in a Latin society, it's a kind of a dishonor to go through divorce, you know. Just so the family stays together. You got kids and shit, so they just make it look good on the surface.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
like I kind of feel like they did that here like a while back, but they don't really.
Yeah.
Nobody,
So that's probably what
nobody
this is
really
all-
bothers anymore doing that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But back then they used to. So so in the 1930s, evidently, I don't know if it was the wife or the mistress, but one of them shot him in the face.
Yeah.
But the way they like portrayed it was him like doing, like I said, like a Creepshow guy thing where he was like
Yeah.
banging the cane.
Yeah.
I expect my dinner on the table, blah blah blah. I'm just like, yeah, you had that comment. Sorry. So but whether this happened or not, I don't know. But nobody apparently wants to tell the Fox family, who are now living in the house, about the rumors about the murder and/or murders and/or suicides, which they didn't bring up. But Mary did say that whenever they would go into town, like to do something, like they'd go to the post office or wherever the fuck, and they would walk in, and it would be like, you know, like in the movies where you walk in the saloon and like there's a record scratch and like everybody stops talking. She said it'd be kind of like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where everybody just stopped talking, but nobody would like tell them anything. And I guess they didn't find out until later on. It's like everybody would stop talking when they walked in. So a few weeks later, Mary is up late in the living room. She's watching a movie downstairs, eating popcorn and whatnot. And then she notices that, I guess like the door from the living room, like into the hall or the foyer or whatever, is open. Even though she's pretty sure they're like sliding like double doors. She's pretty sure she closed them prior to her coming in here. So at first she's like, oh, well, maybe there's just a draft or something. Maybe they just blew open or it's an old house or whatever. So she closes them. Like, it happens a couple times. But then she, like, closes them and, like, locks it. It's kind of like, remember the double doors on our old house where one of them just kind of, like, stays in place all the time and then you just have one and it locks like that. Just one locks and it's supposed to keep them both from opening. So it's like it had that kind of situation. So she locks it. But then, and then she goes back and sits down. But then, like, the door starts to rattle. And then there's, like, a key in it. I don't know if that was what it was really like. But the key turned by itself. And then the doors, like, basically just go, shoop. Just, like, fly open like that. So Mary freaks the fuck out, again, as you would. And runs up to her room. Now, the reenactment actually shows the ghost of the old man, like, showing up in the doorway, like, hey, what's up? Like, looking up the stairs, like, after she's run away. But Mary didn't say that she saw that. Like, she did say that she saw him later, but she didn't say that she saw him at this particular time. But I guess they're kind of, like, they are implying that that was who did that. She said, I thought this was an interesting thing that she said. She said the feeling in the house was that even though you paid the rent and you paid all the bills on it and stuff like that, that you didn't belong there, that you weren't supposed to be here. She's like, she got a very, very strong feeling that she didn't belong in the house, or they didn't belong in the house, or they weren't supposed to be there, even though they were, obviously, because they were paying the rent on it. So once Mary gets back to her room, like all fucking wigged out, her mom comes up and chews her out. She's like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like, I don't know what time it was, but it was like really late at night. She's like, you're running up and down the halls at this, you know, ungodly hour. You left all the lights on downstairs. What the fuck is your deal? So apparently, like, the parents were always giving her and her little brother grief because they thought they were making all these noises at night. Because they're like, look, we both have to work and we have to get up early. And it's like, we don't really appreciate being woken up by you, like, banging around and doing what the fuck ever. But the kids are like, hey, it's not us. But of course, like, the parents didn't believe them. So apparently these noises were, like, pretty common. Carol, who was the mom, she said that she heard the sounds pretty often. She said what it sounded like was someone hitting the table. That's what she said. And she said it was usually around 3 or 4 in the morning. And she kept thinking that it was Mary, like, banging around in the attic room. So the reenactment showed that the sound was kind of like the ghost man's cane, like, tapping on the floor, like, bang, bang, bang. Like, he was, like, calling somebody to, like, bring him his cake. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what they showed. But I don't know if that's exactly what she heard because she didn't, like, explain it. But she said it was, like, kind of noises, like someone hitting the table. That's what she said. So, as the kind of... Well, what are you doing? She's trying to get up on the chair.
Yeah.
Her little head pops up every now and then. She's like, hey, what are you guys doing?
She's like, Daddy, come brush me. That's what she's doing.
I know.
Yeah.
Aw, Pokey.
Yeah. I try to sleep. I can't sleep because she's constantly crawling up on me and looking in my face. You going to sleep? Yeah, I'm going to sleep.
But it's the middle of the night. This is prime kitty time.
Yeah. Come play. I don't got time for this shit. She's fucking funny, man.
Yeah, she likes
and she
attention.
get up there and start making bread like that, and then she's looking around like she's playing piano. And then she starts zoning out, and I said, stop it. And she's like, what? What?
I was making my biscuits.
Yeah, I was just making biscuits.
Time to make the biscuits.
Doing that shit like that. And she's sitting right next to me making biscuits on my fucking chest and shit. And I'm looking at her, and she looks like somebody playing piano. It's hilarious.
Well, that's why they have all those, like, fucking funny videos of, like, cats that some people have, like, made look like they're playing the piano. Because that's kind of what it looks like.
Yeah.
She looks, like, very, very serious.
Real serious looking. Like, her head's going around and shit.
Looking like...
What's wrong with you?
Looking like Stevie Wonder all up in the
Yeah, like Stevie Wonder.
But, yeah. All right, so as the weeks go by, these weird sounds, banging sounds and stuff like that, like, keep going on. And so the relationship between Carol, the mom, and Mary, the daughter, like, started getting, like, really contentious. They were, like, arguing all the time, mostly because Carol thought Mary was making noise all night and keeping her mom awake. And she was like, look, I'm fucking tired all the time. And it's like, I have to work. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? And Mary, at this point, I guess she'd kind of got sick of, like, telling her mom, hey, look, it's not me. So she had just started to, like, be like, fuck it. And she went all distant because she's like, look, I know the house is haunted. And her mom won't believe her. And her mom just keeps yelling at her and, like, blaming her for all the noises. So she's like, what's the fucking point of, like, arguing with her? But she's like, yep, whatever. You know what I mean? It's just that kind of thing. And so, like, her mom just thinks she's being an asshole, but, you know. So one night, and like I said, this is kind of like where they showed, like, the trailer kind of situation at the beginning. And I'm like, well, that was kind of silly. But that's the reason why was because it was, like, a dream sequence. And this is what they were talking about. So one particular night, Mary has this really, really vivid dream. And she said that she dreamed that she was walking through the house and she goes into her own room, which is like the attic. Only in the middle of the room, there's like a bunch of Satanists, essentially, standing there in the middle of the room. And she said all of them had black hooded robes on, except for the main guy who was wearing like a bright red robe, like in fucking, you know, like that fucking Roger Corman movie, Mask of the Red Death with Vincent Price in it. And so, so there's candles, there's like a red pentagram. It's a, very satanic panic. This was 1983 after all. So the whole gang of them are holding a baby. And I love like the I don't know why, I laughed at the baby in this because like all the cultists are like holding the baby. They're obviously going to sacrifice the baby. So the baby's just sitting there going, what are you guys doing? You know what I mean? The baby's just like totally unconcerned. And it's like, I thought that was like really funny. But yeah, so they're all holding a baby and they're chanting and shit. And they don't really appear to notice Mary at all because, like I said, she's dreaming this. So she's just standing there watching them like, what the fuck? And they're just all doing their thing and like not looking at her. Now, at this point, the narrator, Anthony Call, he says, oh, it seems like the house is trying to tell her something because the dream seems so real. She didn't say that, but that's kind of what the narrator said. So the red-robed guy's face, who's I guess is like the leader of the coven or whatever the hell this is, it also kind of turns reptile like a Sleestack kind of situation that he has going on there with his face. Like he has red eyes and then he's like, ooh, I'm a lizard person. It was like that. So... And then stabs the baby, like picks up the knife and is like, oh, God, like they don't show it, but it's pretty strongly implied. And so Mary obviously like fucking screams her head off. And she said, so then she wakes up in her room and she's like, I felt like after that, like I felt like I would never sleep again in my life. It was the most terrifying dream I ever had. Now, not too long after this, Mary said, she started feeling like, and this kind of reminded me of that other episode with that girl that was in the apartment that said she was like sad all the time. But she said that she started feeling like just bummed out all the time and like really, really sad, and she couldn't explain why. She basically said, I felt like my whole family had been killed in an accident, and like, so whenever she was in the house by herself, like she just felt like really, really super depressed and like bummed out, and she couldn't really put her finger on why. So apparently her little brother, Wesley, has also been weirded out by all of this situation. And for several weeks, he has actually been sleeping on a cot in his parents' room because he's too scared to sleep in his own room. So one night, he's sleeping on the cot. His mom is sleeping in the bed. I guess the dad is working late. I don't know what time it was. So Wesley is like laying there awake on the cot. Now his mom is asleep. But then Wesley looks up and sees one of them hooded figures. But weirdly, this is like this guy, even though he's also reptilian, he has a black robe on. Whereas in Mary's dream, it was the reptilian guy had a red robe on. So I don't know. I know I'm being like picky about it, but I'm just saying. But he said, so he sees a figure in a hooded robe, which is a black hooded robe next to the bed. And he said, right outright, the real guy, he said it looked scaly and green like a lizard's face. That's what he said. So he saw a lizard man standing next to his bed. And he was apparently awake. He said he was awake because he couldn't sleep. This I have a hard time buying, but okay.
Well, it can take any image it needs to.
I guess so. I'm just saying, if you dream it, all right. But it's like you wake up and you see like a lizard person standing next to your bed.
Well,
I'm going to need a little more convincing.
Some of the stuff out of this case, though, sounds like a sleep paralysis, though.
We were thinking that, yeah.
Which,
that totally sounds like sleep paralysis.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me at all. And that one, I've had sleep paralysis before.
I have too.
When you get older, you don't have it as much. Unless someone were to, like, shock you out of certain stages of sleep. But having seen paranormal stuff and then having sleep paralysis, there is some stuff that happens during sleep paralysis that does seem to be paranormal, because you're in a certain mind state where paranormal could happen. Like when I had that spontaneous OBE when I was in the Army, I was partially in sleep paralysis when that was going on. There were witnesses to that. And there was RSPK, fucking little mini fridge was shaking, and a damn microwave was popping, and I'm looking down at myself, and I could see dudes trying to wake me up. And then when I came back, I was paralyzed. I couldn't even fucking talk. So, just because it's something seen in sleep paralysis doesn't mean it wasn't paranormal. Because there's a gray area in that mind state. So what I'm saying is that you might be in sleep paralysis, but that helps you access the paranormal world. Like what you're seeing, that's kind of a representation of what's really there. Just an evil dude. You see him as a lizard man. But it doesn't mean there isn't an evil dude there. or the spirit of an evil dude. That's my take on it.
Larry and Creature said, "Guy just tripped himself out. He probably just watched the Gorn episode of Star Trek."
Yeah.
Maybe he had.
Dude, the updated version of the Gorn episode, the Gorn blinks. Because in the original, it's just a damn fucking fucked up mask, and it doesn't... But they made it so it blinks. It looks a lot better.
He does, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, like, the lizard person in this does look more like the Gorn than the Sleestack.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking Sleestack, but...
Hey, man, in the Mirror episode of Enterprise, fucking when Mirror Archer fights the Gorn by using the gravitation plates so you could have artificial gravity, that was fucking great too.
Everybody loves the Gorn.
Yeah, fucking Archer fights his own
maybe
Gorn.
I should dress up as the Gorn for him.
The Gorn. Yeah.
I think I'd rather be a Sleestack though. Maybe I should be a Sleestack.
In Enterprise, the Gorn was CG. So it didn't quite look like... It looked like a dinosaur with clothes. It didn't look like...
It didn't look like a dude in a suit.
No, it didn't look like a dude in a
cheap
suit.
costume.
Yeah. Yeah.
But see, that was part of its charm, though. I kind of feel like...
Yeah.
Tom Sykes says... Ooh, went down the wrong way. This is the third episode. This is like the third episode of A Haunting with a pentagram hidden under the carpet. That's what we said.
Were talking about
yeah,
that.
we said the exact same thing. Like when they find the pentagram under the carpet. Spoiler alert.
It's a trope.
Yeah, we're sitting there going, "Oh man, how many episodes is that now?" I'm like,
pull back the carpet and there's a fucking pentagram.
Shit.
And I'm like, how do you know that's not a pentacle?
That's
how
what
do
I
you know which
mean.
way it's facing?
Right.
It might
it's upside down. Well, yeah,
how
but
do you know? Move around the other side of it.
and then it's not upside
There
down.
you go.
Then it's good. It's all good.
Maybe they've got it fucking oriented to a certain cardinal point. You don't know.
Right. Exactly.
You know? Or you don't know. It's just that, I'm not worried about pentagrams. That's teenagers doing that shit.
And I kind of feel like maybe we'll get into this in a minute if I remember. But I do kind of feel like, pentagram under the carpet.
Yeah.
That's, like you said, that's a trope.
Yeah.
That's turned up on several episodes of A Haunting, maybe more than 3. I kind of feel like I've seen it more than 3 times.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like, I don't know, I'll get into it later.
Venom and Motley Crue made that shit mainstream in the fucking metal scene.
Yeah.
And now you can go
now,
on
this
Amazon.
was 1983, so this was a little early, but still, I kind of feel like that was still going on.
And now you can go on Amazon and get cutie pie fucking girl goth clothing with fucking hoods and all kinds of shit that has fucking pentagrams all over it.
And I kind of feel like, which is crazy because if
Yeah.
you'd worn something with a pentagram on it in 1983, everyone would have spit at you.
Yeah. Now you can get it off of Amazon.
Cause shit, man. Like I said,
Yeah.
we, if you're new here, like we were into the goth thing like way back in the 80s and 90s.
We
and
helped
stuff.
invent that shit.
And people would like, if you were dressed weird, like people would throw shit at you from their cars and stuff.
Yeah.
Like they throw like beer bottles and crap.
Pre
like that.
Marilyn Manson, they'd fuck
Right.
you up and fucking, and even when Marilyn Manson was going on, they'd try to fuck you up.
And if you had,
We
something
were like-
with a pentagram or something like that, people thought that was like you were that. Was the
Yeah, they were
craziest
trying to
thing
kill
ever.
us all the time.
They were, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like nowadays, like I said, I have shit with pentagrams on it just because they're neat looking. Like I think I have like a pair of kind of pleather pants with like with them on the butt. I just don't wear them that much because they don't fit right and so they slide off, but because they're too big. But you know what I mean. Tom Sykes says I saw.
wish those bitches would fit. They look great on you.
I do like them, but like I said, I can wear
We're gonna
them.
get you back on that.
I can wear them as long as I don't move too much. Because if I move too much, they'll start to fall because they're too big.
I got a video of her at the club with those pants on, and they're kind of falling down.
They're not those pants. That's
but
different.
they're similar kind of
different
pants.
pants.
And it looks so cute with her with fucking her pants fucking sliding down. She gets so fucking been out of shape about fucking.
Well, because
things,
it's annoying having to like
Yeah,
pull them back
it's
up. It's
cute.
uncomfortable.
She's real sexy when shit starts fucking.
Because I'm
falling
trying
off.
to dance, and it's like then I
Yeah.
have to keep like pulling
Keep
them up,
pulling
and
it up.
pulling them up, pulling them up.
It's
It's
cute.
just
Though.
it's annoying.
Super cute. Super cute.
I know, but it's like super
Yeah.
annoying. I just want to like concentrate on dancing. I don't want to worry about my fucking clothes falling
Yeah,
off,
and over the
you know?
past few years, Jenny riding that damn bicycle and doing all the fucking anabolics and shit, her fucking legs look great. And I'm saying, you need to show them legs off. She's like, oh, I don't know. You need to show those fucking legs off, Jan. They're fucking great. I'm gonna get a picture of those.
Why are we talking about this now? Because we were just started talking about pentagram
She wants to
stuff.
talk about it. She's getting embarrassed.
Well, yeah. Why do you go?
Jen's
off
got
on
great
this
legs.
Why do you always go off on this?
Jen's
kind
got
of
great legs.
Richard Brown said "Gorn with the wind."
Going with the wind, yeah.
I'd watch that movie.
Yeah.
Tom Sykes says, I saw a cloaked figure during my sleep paralysis dream as well, but no facial features or arms.
Yeah.
Just a floating black cloak that resembled a ring wraith.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I had sleep paralysis, I saw... It looked like a person, like it looked like a human, but it was just like a shadow person, but it looked like a real person, like carrying it, like with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
But the weird thing about it is that even though it looked like a real person, even though it was just like a shadow of a real person, I somehow knew that wasn't, like, because you think, like, if I woke up, because it's possible, obviously, that I could have woke up in my apartment, because this is when I lived by myself, and it's like, what if I woke up in my apartment, there was a dude with a baseball bat standing in my bedroom door, like, on the corridor, like, that could really happen.
Yeah.
But for some reason, like, I woke up and I saw it there, and I was just kind of like, huh.
Yeah. That's not there, though. That's what you're thinking.
That's kind of what I was like, I don't really think that's there. Like, even though it looked like it was there.
I've had one sleep paralysis where I couldn't move, and I looked over at the wall next to me somehow. I guess my head was pointed in that direction, and there was a face in that wall, kind of pushing its way out, like something out of it in a horror movie, trying to say something, but it didn't scare me. But
that was like Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, but it was trying to give me some kind of a message. But the weird things that you see when you're in sleep paralysis, my take on it, having experience with poltergeist and other paranormal stuff, it won't harm you. It's actually not there, but that doesn't mean it isn't paranormal. It might be a psychic message from afar. In other words, Jenny saw a dude with a baseball bat. There may have been some dude somewhere with a baseball bat.
Well,
Right?
I'm willing to bet
yeah.
a substantial
And
amount of
that
money
something
that
happened,
somewhere
and
that
that
was a guy
something
with a-
happened, and she was able to like pick up on that and see it. He wasn't there at the time, probably. But,
Good thing for me, because I'd
Right.
been in big trouble.
Well, no, I meant the spirit of that guy was
Right.
not there, but you might have been accessing information. Something maybe in the area or something that was relevant to what you would ask. You kind of get what you ask for. And maybe there might have been a part of you that was, thinking about true crime or just whatever, you know what I mean? And
Well,
that's what popped up.
fair, because I'm pretty much always
Right.
thinking
And
about true
that's
crime.
maybe there was like, this is,
kinda
you don't
my
know
deal.
about this one. Well, what about this guy? Remember this guy? No, you don't know this guy, right? Yeah, nobody knows about this guy. So it's kind of like the internet and Google searching. It's kind of like that. That's my take on it. So the things that you see in sleep paralysis are real, but they're not really there at that time. You might be, but the information behind them is probably real, and it may be paranormal.
Larry and Creature says, dude, Venom, yes. Love Venom.
Fucking right. I grew up listening to Venom.
And then he
Welcome to
says,
Hell,
"Do you-
black metal.
Do you know the band Pentagram? They were rad.
No, I don't know that one.
Hugo said my mom threw away my Shout at the Devil album because of the Pentagram.
Yeah.
See, they were really like butthurt about that stuff
Yeah.
back in the 80s. I remember that shit.
And the
Which
Shout
is
at
so
the
silly
Devil
nowadays.
album, when you actually analyze the Shout at the Devil, that was weak sauce.
That's
as
what I
hell.
mean. It's really
It was
not.
like
It
a
doesn't
Kiss album.
sound like.
No,
It
it's
doesn't
like a Kiss
sound.
album.
You listen to it now, and it just sounds like regular
Yeah.
fucking rock music. It doesn't.
Yeah,
sound
it was
anything.
just right.
Wow.
Yeah. Wonder
It
how
says
that
it's
happened.
like
Is it
everything.
back? It says it's back.
I don't know. Like everything's slowed down, but
Okay.
it says
Yeah, you
reconnection
get messages.
successful.
Go ahead and drop a message in.
That
there.
was weird. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
We started talking about like fucking Satan did it, I guess. Hopefully you guys can still hear us. Larry Crucci said, I used to get sleep paralysis all the time as a kid, but I never had the person thing. For me, it was like waking up in darkness, being awake inside your body, but no ability to move. Yeah, I've only had it happen that one time. And it was weird, but it's just kind of like, I don't know, like it was scary, but not scary. You know what I mean? Like I woke up and I was like, oh, that looks like a real person, like standing there. But I knew it wasn't. I don't know.
That's fucking funny that there's somebody in there that remembers fucking Venom.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking Venom. Conrad Lent. That was the guy who was fucking Kronos. Guy who did all the singing. He was the mastermind behind it. Fucking, he got big too. He was fucking taking that D-ball there. Fucking, I can see we got fucking swole for a little bit. Then he's back. But fucking Conrad was a genius, man. He invented black metal. He was seemingly a good dude too, and didn't believe in any of that shit. It was all just fucking.
Well, a lot of them
entertainment.
didn't. It's just like, well, yeah, it's
Yeah,
just like that's their whole like shtick. You know
Yeah, I
what mean?
saw an interview and it was like, man, they're like, I'm not gonna slaughter the virgins and fucking sacrifice the baby.
Yeah,
They're talking
like-
about this is a horror movie. It's like you watch The Evil Dead. It's the same
Right.
thing. I don't believe in any of that.
That's what I mean. It's like, well, that's what's so weird to me is that I remember like one time, like my mom like read some of my horror stories or
Yeah.
something like that. And she's like, do you really like think about that? It's like, Mom, it's a story.
Yeah.
Like, it's called imagination. Like, you just make it up. I would never do any of that shit in real life.
Yeah.
I just, like, enjoy watching it or writing it or reading about
Yeah.
it. And that's all. I would never do that stuff.
I showed Venom to Sophie. Sophie listened to a couple of them. She liked him. She saw fucking Conrad. She's like, oh, he's cute. Yeah, Conrad was cute, but he fucking had a drug problem. He kind of tore him up over time.
A lot of people did back in the day.
But when he was young, you know, Conrad was fucking had away with women. Yeah.
Zach said, I've always thought the worst part about hallucinating would be seeing stuff you know isn't real, but it's still really upsetting, like walking into a room and there's human-sized tarantulas everywhere.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that probably would be upsetting. But, well, the thing about it, though, is that if you knew it wasn't real, yeah, it would be upsetting, but you'd be like, well, that's not really there.
When you take LSD, you know what you're seeing.
I was going to say, it's just, it's maybe kind of like when you do acid, it's like you see weird shit, but it's like you see weird shit, but you're like, well, I know that's not really there.
Yeah.
Like, at the same time. So it's like, ooh, yikes, but...
Yeah, and I've done the steroid version of LSD, which is fucking Tren. And in Tren, you have all kinds of emotional feelings, but you know they're not true. You know it's not true. You know your girlfriend isn't cheating on you. You know people aren't talking about you. You feel that way, but you know it isn't true. Okay, because... I'm older now, you know, my fucking frontal lobes are well developed. I know when I'm under the influence of something, you know, and you're already researching what it makes you do, you know, so and how it makes you feel, so you expect it. And it's the same thing with hallucinogenics.
It's so weird to me though that you can use your brain to analyze your brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think about that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew what it was going to make me feel.
Because I'm always kind of like, oh, well, I'm kind of feeling like this or I'm thinking like that. But then like another part of my brain is being like, analyzing that. And I'm just like, that's so weird that I'm doing that though. Because it's like the same organ.
Had I not known beforehand, it probably would have been a lot harder. But I was expecting it to do that. So when it does it, I'm going like, oh, okay, it's doing its thing. It's working.
That's good that you like prepped yourself.
Oh, yeah. What's the same thing with acid and LSD?
Yeah, well, I think
we already knew what it did.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I kind of feel like that's why I had a really enjoyable experience on it because I'd never done it before, but I knew
what to expect.
And you were basically like, hey, if you're like cool with it, and I was really like wanted to do it, so I was like came at it with a really positive mindset, so I had like a really enjoyable.
That was years back. I had to watch her, but she was good on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that you watch me because, like I said, I wasn't going to do anything terrible. I was just kind of like,
She wanted to go outside and play in the garden and shit.
I wanted to go roll around in the grass and be a werewolf.
No, don't do that.
Is what I wanted to do.
Yeah, so you got to stop her from doing that.
Because, like, we have neighbors.
Yeah.
Let's not.
And then they rang the doorbell. The fucking mailman rang the doorbell to fucking give me a fucking package I had to sign for, and that was like we were hiding from the mailman.
Holy shit, that was hilarious.
Shit.
We still laugh about that.
I go out there
to
explain to the mailman, look, man, I'm really high on acid right now. He starts laughing, and I'm going, what do I have to do? He goes, just sign right here, and it says, okay, I'm really fucked up on LSD right now.
It was fucking hysterical.
This is my house, man. I'm gonna tell you I'm high on LSD.
Well, here's the thing. It was a weird time because we dropped on. It was like a Tuesday afternoon or something because it's like we were both off work and we're just kind of like we had some like from our friend and we're like, hey, we don't have anything to do today because we were both off work and it's like let's do this and so we did that and then like we were like an hour or two into it. And somebody rings the doorbell, and at first we were like, "Holy shit!"
Looking out the window, we're like, "Oh shit!"
Like we got all, we went and hid in the closet.
It's fucking UPS, man.
We went and hid in the closet. We were like trying to look out the windows and stuff, and I'm like, "Who is that? Who is that?"
And I'm
like, "God, we're in trouble."
And I'm like, "I'll take care of this. You just stay here. I'll go deal with him." Okay. And I woke up to, "Hey,
oh my god, it was so
man,"
funny.
and it says, "Look, man, before I do this, I'm really high right now." He goes, "You are?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm really high on LSD." And he goes, just sign right here, man, it'll be all right. And every time I saw that same UPS man, he's like, what's up, man? I was like, yeah, I feel
Fucking tripping balls on a Tuesday afternoon.
Trying to explain it to the UPS
man. We probably made
man.
that dude's day. I feel like we probably
tripping
made
balls
that
trying
day.
to explain it to the UPS man.
He thought that shit was funny as hell. I still like remember that shit too. Because I remember you trying to sign, because you had to sign for the shit. I don't even remember what it was. But
on
you had
that
to sign
damn
for
fucking computer.
And he's like... like with his eyes all big.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And I came back in. She goes, "Is he gone?" Yeah, he's gone. He's gone.
But it was funny how immediately, like, we heard the doorbell and I was like, "Holy shit, is that the cops?" And then, like, we run in the closet and we're trying to like look out the window and stuff. I'm like, "Oh my god, we're in trouble."
They're
like,
laughing.
I don't know. It was like it's fucking hysterical. That was hysterical. All right, so I kind of lost my place. What else is new?
I don't know.
Okay. So we got distracted by the whole lizard man situation because we were talking about the Gorn and all that.
We're about halfway through this, aren't we?
More than half, Lake.
Okay, and I'll tell you what. You know what it's a good time for? Commercials. We gotta do some commercials.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna do one set though.
All right. And then you can go ahead and go to the restroom, and I can go to the restroom, and all that kind of stuff.
All right. We're gonna do some commercials, and then we will be back in just a moment. We don't have that much left out of the case, so we're gonna do some commercials, and we will be right back in just a minute.
And now was acknowledged the presence of the Red Death. He had come like a thief in the night, and one by one dropped the revelers in the blood-bedewed holes of their room, and died each in the despairing posture of his fall. And the life of the ebony clock went out with that of the last of the gang, and the flames of the tripods expired, and darkness and decay and the Red Death held illimitable dominion over all.
All right, we're back.
Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the break.
I think I forgot when I was doing the first string, I was like, I think I cut it off like before one of them, but oh well. I forgot which ones like I put all on there. But, you
Larry's in there saying that the black metal genre got its name off of fucking the Venom album. Yeah, it was called Black Metal. I think it was their second album. And he said that they were from Newcastle, UK, near where he's at. Well, there's a lot of cool shit came out of the UK during that era. It's because public education in England and offered music training. So a lot of good dudes came out from that generation, had come out of the British public education system. Fucking shit, man. Fucking, there's a shit ton of them. Fucking Bowie, Pink Floyd. Anything heavy metal came from there. Judas Priest, Iron Maiden.
And like I said, I'm really into the whole post-punk.
Yeah,
post-punk, new wave.
Yeah, all that shit.
All that shit was good.
Yeah, because even what they called the shitty fucking bands that came out of that generation, which have been Generation X with Billy Idol.
They're not shitty. They're awesome.
Well, Generation X was shitty. Okay, but Billy Idol moved to the United States and became great because he got good backing. He got help. Fucking Steve Stevens helped him with writing and everything, and he was just Idol. Fucking William Broad, and also knows Billy Idol. I just think he's a great dude. Even with all his drug problems, still was able to produce a lot of really good shit.
Which always amazes me when people that are really...
Yeah.
Because, man, I have, 3 or 4 drinks, and it's like, I'm fucking useless. So I can, really admire people that can just be, hey, I was on heroin for 30
Billy was
years.
Basically a boy.
And I still put out, brilliant albums. Look at Nick Cave, for Christ's sake, who was completely fucked up on everything, and he just produces fucking genius shit all this time. That's amazing.
Billy Idol was
blows my mind.
Billy Idol was basically born addicted to heroin.
Well,
almost. So he's 15 and on that shit, and he was still able to
I guess you get used to it,
but and Duran. Fucking England was uniquely.
They were more
poised.
like cokeheads, weren't they?
Yeah, they were into everything, but most coke and
I
beautiful
feel like
women.
John Taylor was the worst of those. I kind of feel like the other ones I kind of feel like had maybe minor.
But anybody that had money in the '80s was
everybody was on
coke.
drugs back then.
That was a rich man's drug. But England fucking was uniquely positioned to fucking conquer the earth when it came to the music and entertainment, but mostly just music. Although they needed the American market to get it done. England is too small. There's not enough money to be generated there.
Well,
they came to the United States and fucking
the
kicked
thing about
ass.
the British market is that it's harder to break in. Well, because their shit is national.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Fickle too. They'll throw a good act away because well, that's done. I'm like, no, that's not done.
We're sick of that.
Yeah, well, that should go to the United States and fucking.
I don't know if that so much happens nowadays, but it did happen a lot in those days. I remember.
Yeah.
Larry and Creature said Black Sabbath for sure. Ooh yeah, man.
Yeah.
Post-punk stuff like Joy Division and the
Joy
Fall.
Division.
You just mentioned two
Sisters
of my
Mercy.
very favorite bands in the whole world. And honestly, not a lot of people... I feel like a lot of Americans are not into the Fall. R.I.P. Marky Smith, by the way. But I don't know. I really got into them. I don't know what it is, but... I was really into the Fall. I love Joy Division. I love all the goth rock stuff. Post punk is probably my favorite. What the fuck?
She just came out of the dam. She just
the cabinet.
comes out of the cab. How'd you get in there?
How do you think with her little hands?
Yeah.
Larry Creature said I fucking love the Fall. Yeah, I do too.
They're good.
Yeah, I do too.
Yep.
And I have I wish I could afford all their albums. I have a good.
The Furs.
I have a good chunk of them, but I mean they put out an album every. Well, no, they put out 3 albums a year or something.
Oh, thank you.
That.
Now the money starts coming in. Super chat starts coming in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trey.
Yeah.
Gotta love a Duran mention.
Oh, yeah.
And it was John who was the cokehead. Yeah, that's what I thought.
I thought they all
I
kind
read
of
his
dabbled. Of course, I think they all dabbled.
They did, but like I said, John actually had a problem.
Yeah.
Where they were all bro.
And I was into them, man, and fucking, I like one of their least popular albums. It's fucking Notorious. I love that Notorious album.
I like it now. Well, I didn't like it when it came.
I loved it.
Well, okay, I'm not going to go that far. When it came out in 1987, I bought it on vinyl because I'm old, and listened to it, and I was like, I like it, but I don't love it. I like it more now. I appreciate it more now. To me, because this was the 80s, and I was more into, I liked their first album. I liked Rio. Seven the Ragged Tiger was good, too. But it's, their first two are, still my favorites, after all this time. But it's, when Notorious came out, I said, it sounds a little too...
I liked it.
Charty.
I loved it. It was a whole album.
Too much saxophone.
Oh, I loved that.
It was
no, they brought in the wind instruments and everything, and they got rid of some of the dead weight. It was now a trio, and they were doing good.
Fucking, and it was an entire album about hookers, sluts, and blow. Hookers, sluts, and coke. That's what that album was about.
Well, that was kind of their whole.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Rio was more like more veiled references
World
to
travel,
right,
sophisticated, and we're rich now.
Yeah,
we're from the hood, but we're rich
we're
now.
on yachts and whatnot.
Yeah.
I love Duran Duran though. Gonna say. But yeah, thank you.
The second coming of the Beatles, really.
He said he read John Taylor's book.
Yeah,
I had heard that. Like, I read a lot of books about Duran Duran like a long time ago, but I haven't read any since then. But yeah, I heard that John Taylor was one. I think they were all like kind of. I don't know if I'd call them druggies, but they didn't really have problems. But I think John Taylor really did.
Well, they were regular guys for that era.
That's what I mean. So like everybody was on the shit. It's just that some people like overdid it just a little bit.
Some people are kind of predisposed towards addiction. Other people can resist it. Like
Yeah.
I can walk away from anything. I mean, I've fucking done opium and shit. I've never injected heroin. I don't think I could walk away from that one. But I've done pretty much all of them, and I'm not really habit forming. The closest one that got me would be coke. Snorted it on several occasions, and I always wanted more.
You're like,
the next day.
This is awesome.
Like, I want more of that. But it's
I've only done it
expensive.
once, but it wasn't like great.
You didn't have good shit.
That's what I mean. It wasn't
Yeah.
good shit, so I was just kind of like, whatever.
No, I'll snort that for a whole night. I was snorting it with fucking the Barbiturates from fucking from Boston. They were a sex act type group, fucking from Sleep. They were the backup girls for Sleep Chamber, which was kind of an industrial band from Boston, and just free coke all night. And the next morning, I fucking still wanted some. I was like, man, I could use some of that coke. Because I just felt like I was just drag-assing around, fucking, and I had to go out to the club. So my solution was to just drink, and you can drink yourself into forgetting about coke, and then like the third day you don't.
Sounds super healthy.
You don't care.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, you don't care. So that was I learned that you can drink yourself into forgetting about coke.
Okay. Well, you can drink yourself into forgetting
Yeah.
about pretty much everything.
Yeah.
That's one of the nice things about it.
You got to be careful. You got to be careful for coke and fucking. I wouldn't fuck with heroin. I heard that once you get a taste,
Which we
of
drink
that,
a lot on this show, Larry.
Yeah.
In case you didn't
Yeah.
realize.
Once you get a taste of heroin, you're probably.
We don't
not
drink
gonna
on
do
every
it.
show, but
No.
on most live streams we do, and on the
And-
Monday ones we do because it's like the fun ghost show.
We actually don't drink that much.
Well, when we're not on the show,
We're not drinking.
when we're not on the show, and when we're not out at the club, like we drink
Yeah.
it those 2 times,
Yeah.
but the rest of the times not
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, I have Muslim fucking fans going, you need to stop drinking. They're worried about me. I said, dude, man, you don't know what you're talking about, right? This is lightweight shit compared to what we would normally do, and I could walk away from that. That's no big deal. It's because they were under the impression that you're drinking all the time. And
Yeah, we don't drink every
We
day.
don't drink all the
It's
time.
not like I wake up and I'm just
Yeah.
like, where's my booze?
Yeah.
It's just kind of like when we're doing the live stream, we drink. Like, well, not on everyone, because the movie reviews, we don't usually drink on those.
Yeah.
But we usually drink on this one and the main show and the sidetracks. And if we go out to clubs probably once or twice a month, and then we'll drink a lot there. But it's
Yeah.
like, other than that, we don't really.
And, you know, I'm coming up on my mid-50s, but my blood chemistry is not that of a normal human. I mean, I can fucking just recover in a few hours from anything. It's almost superhuman. Since you start going on HRT and you're doing fucking steroid cycles fucking in middle age, not big cycles, but whatever, you can just shake anything off. You're just so strong metabolically. So it's not a problem, people. Don't worry about it. My Islamic friends, do not worry about it.
Yeah, we're fine.
It's fine.
We're not alcoholics.
No.
We're drunks, but we're not alcoholics.
Yeah, big difference.
there's a
An
big
alcoholic
difference
takes a
between-
drink and they drink themselves until they fucking fall
I mean,
over.
well,
and
I would
yeah.
consider an
Yeah.
alcoholic.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, I'm not shitting on it because that's bad. That's a tragic situation. I consider like an alcoholic is somebody that like wakes up in the morning and the first thing they think of is like, where's my booze?
Yeah.
I don't do that.
They usually don't live long. A true alcoholic.
We usually are like,
Yeah.
when it's the evening, we're doing
Yeah.
a show or we're doing something, or we're just like watching a movie or we're like relaxing. Oh, we'll have a drink or something
Yeah.
like that. So I kind of feel like that's the difference. Like we don't need it.
Another thing is that we're at least 90-something% European genetically. We already born with an inborn resistance to it. It's not like you're a Pacific Islander, and I got Pacific Island friends on there, and they know exactly what I'm talking about.
Fucking, we had guys in the army from the Pacific Islands, just one drink and they just fucking lose it. Want to shove their head through walls. They want to kill everybody. It's not the same. Kind of like a Native Americans.
Some people have a higher
We've been
tolerance
around.
than others.
Our ethnic background has been around for thousands of years under the influence of drinking wine, beer, and distilled alcohol. So we already
We
have
come from a long line of
people that have been drinking this. So we have a resistance to it. Okay. Doesn't quite.
Not me personally, because my parents actually did not drink.
Yeah. Well, what it is that all the people that were predisposed for fucking up under that shit are dead.
Are dead.
They're dead. They didn't have any
They
descendants.
were winnowed out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Larry and Creature said British invasion in the 60s too, like the Kinks, the Animals, the Beatles, the Stones. Yeah.
Also good.
I love all that shit. I love all
Also
that
good.
shit. All that shit is good.
Brits were. They had an empire that fucking the sun never set on. During the 16, 17, even the 1800s, their trade empire was fucking badass, but that faded. All right, and then it moved into what the British really conquered the world with was their fucking artists, their music, fucking great music, especially in the English speaking world. Not even the English speaking world. Growing up in Brazil,
I mean, seriously,
they were listening to British music, British heavy metal, British based new wave type shit, fucking that was considered to be real artsy fartsy.
I mean, that was like my first
real good shit.
Like when I was growing up, because I was born in 1972. So when the 80s were just burgeoning, MTV started and like all the British new wave, all that kind of stuff. And my dad was real into the Beatles and was into like a lot of that British music too. Like he was into kind of like Southern rock too, which I still don't like.
Yeah, no.
But he was into like a lot of the British stuff too, like the Kinks and the Beatles, and he had all those records. So I heard those a lot when I was a kid, and I still love that shit. Like I wasn't.
The UK faked Southern rock. Some Rolling Stones.
In a way, theirs
British.
was kind of like better.
It was some of the Rolling Stones songs, like Wild Horses, the fake Southern accents and shit. But then there was a Scottish band, Nazareth.
Yeah.
Which sounded most Southerners think that's a Southern rock band. I had to correct a guy who says no, Nazareth is Scottish. And they were like, what? And I go, yeah, that's not Southern. That's Scottish.
Well,
and
see, but that's
something
the thing.
about them that had
it's a
Southern
cultural exchange because, like
feel.
I said, the British and the Australians too, like maybe even to a larger degree, because you have stuff like Nick Cave and the Birthday Party and people like that that were real into like American like roots rock and blues and stuff like that, and so they kind of like did their own take on it and like reflected it back into and like a lot of that was really good.
But Nazareth, fucking, unfortunately, those dudes all died basically in obscurity, even though they had a shit ton of fans.
Yeah.
Fucking kind of sad. But no, that was a good Scottish band. They were fucking great. Gene Loves Jezebel, another good Scottish band.
No, they're Welsh.
Welsh, sorry.
They're Welsh.
All right.
I would know because...
You would know.
Because
Yeah.
I lived in Wales for a while, so I would know. Yeah. They were Welsh, the twins. The Aston twins.
Yeah, I met one of them.
Yeah, we did.
I don't know which one it was.
It wasn't. It was just in the past couple months.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Jay.
Jay, yeah.
It was Jay's version of Gene Loves Jezebel. They played here in Orlando.
Yeah, and it was good. Small venue. One of my favorite small places.
He was
Will's
super
Pub.
happy that like we knew all of his old songs.
Yeah, he was real impressed. I went up to him before he even started playing. When the opening band was on, he was kind of sneaking around like nobody knew who he was, and I said, "Look, man," and I just shook his hand. And he was kind of scared of me because of how I look, I guess. But because I forget how I look. I don't look like a goth dude anymore. I look like a fucking wrestler. So I went up to him and I fucking shook his hand, and I says, "Look, man, I grew up listening to your music, man. Fucking The Immigrant and Porter, the Immigrant album and fucking
Discover.
Discover.
Yeah, I had that one on by now.
And I said, we kind
I
of grew
still
up.
got it somewhere.
And I said, I know that was a long time ago, but we kind of grew up together, man. And fucking, I just wanted to thank you for the work that you and your brother did. And he was fucking jacked. He's like, you know my work? I says, yeah, I know your work.
See, that's the thing. It's
He didn't think I knew his work.
Right. Well, I kind of feel like they're always surprised.
Yeah. And I said, yeah.
But everybody, like, when he played, like, the old shit, like, he knew all that, like, the cow and all that.
Oh, he played the cow. He says, you played the cow? He's on stage.
And everybody
you
was
played
like,
the cow?
what?
He goes, yeah, I played the cow. And fucking
everybody flipped out.
Part of the crowd left.
and it left about fucking 50
All
or
us old motherfuckers were
yeah,
still
all the
there.
old motherfuckers, about 50 or 60 of us.
Like, oh my god, I remember this
We
song.
were jamming through the whole fucking concert.
Oh my god, so funny.
Yeah, and he was great live, even though it was just one of them. It was only half of the act. Because there's 2 Gene Love Jezebels now. They were twins.
The twins, yeah.
And they started fighting each other basically over... They were fighting each other basically over who was in the band. They couldn't...
Well, that happened.
They couldn't agree with
Don't
who
start a
should be-
band with your brother, okay?
Yeah.
Because Oasis...
When your twin brother.
Gene Loves Jezebel,
Yeah.
or Gene Loves Jezebel, Jesus and Mary Chain.
Yeah.
That was another one that was brothers that kind of like they got mad at each other. But yeah,
Constantly fighting over who should be in the band.
so you know,
Yeah.
I have siblings, but I love my brothers. you
Yeah.
know. Yeah. So yeah, I got way behind. Okay, yeah, I fucking love The Fall, one of my favorite bands, and I think he said like we blew his mind, like saying that we knew who that was and we were really into it. Like seriously, The Fall is one of my favorite bands. And I feel like a lot of people, like apparently, like a lot of Americans don't know who it is, but I really, really like them a lot. And Larry and Creech said Marquis Smith was booze and amphetamines. Yeah, he didn't last too long. But yeah,
They're wild. He's good too. Yeah, man. Fucking
they're an acquired taste. I get that they're, because Trey just said that they're not for everybody. Yeah, they're really not. Like I said, they're an acquired taste, but I really, really dig them. I like all of their shit.
Yeah, so that's a plug to Gene Loves Jezebel too. Fucking go check out the fucking Discover album or the Immigrant album. Fucking great.
Trey says MTV 120 Minutes in the late 80s got me into them, Larry. Yeah, I kind of feel like maybe, I don't know if it was that. It probably, because I loved 120 Minutes, and I thought maybe, because they did that cover of the Kinks song Victoria, but I kind of feel like I got into them before that, but I can't remember. I think what got me into them was actually the I Am Curious Orange album. That the ballet they did with Michael Clark. You know what I mean? I'm talking about The Fall now. You know, they did that song New Big Prince, and I really liked that. I mean, I thought that was great. And I think honestly, the first CD that I bought, because I was into The Fall before this, but like the first CD that I bought was Extricate, which I think came out in 1989, and I was like so excited. My first CD, and it's like it was a Fall one. They're talking about Coke. Holy crap, I'm like so behind, and we haven't even like finished the case, but whatever. Yeah, in the UK, regular drinking is just good social etiquette. Yeah, I kind of feel like that's kind of what we do. It's just social drinking. Like I said, we're not the kind of people where you just like wake up in the morning, it's like, oh my god, I need to drink, or I need this and that. It's like, you know, it's usually when we're just like chilling out with you guys, or we're just like relaxing watching a movie, we'll have a drink or two or something like that, or when we're out, like when we're at a club dancing, and then we'll have a bunch. But it's like, other than that, not so much. I don't think about it otherwise. You know what I mean? Yeah, Larry and Creature said, yeah, man, that's the Bricksmith era, Curious Orange era. Yeah, still, my favorite album of theirs, probably is The Wonderful and Frightening World of the Fall from 1984. I think that's probably still my favorite. Although This Nation's Saving Grace is good too. But yeah, I think that is my favorite. That's the one I listen to the most often. I tend to like their older shit, but because I kind of feel like they went a little bit more, I don't want to say like techno, but they had like a little bit of a, I don't know, a little bit more of a techno vibe to them, which was good, but like I didn't like it as much.
I also like newer stuff too, and so I think Jenny still kind of keeps up with stuff, but I'm like into I'm big into some of the newer metal bands from the South, like Amy Lee and Evanescence. Big into them.
They're not that new though.
They're not that new, but she's still around. Amy's still good. That's newer than what we're talking about.
That's true.
Flyleaf. I was fucking Lacey Storm. Fucking love her shit. I was trying to wanted to see her live. I can't believe that these people are all in their fucking 40s now.
Yeah. I
see them as like young, you know. But
well, they're young.
There's a lot of good Southern metal acts out there.
There's a lot of good everybody.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, but it's just it's harder to find, I feel like, nowadays, just because there's so much good stuff. I mean, back in the old days, you know, yeah, people like to, you know, I'm not saying that it wasn't awesome back then, because there was a lot of awesome music, but it was easier to find, I feel like. Yeah. In a way, it was like harder to find and easier to find at the same time. Like now, it's easier, there's so much more out there, but it's like more difficult because there's so much of it. There's like so much static that you have to get through.
And then a good local band that Jenny and I have supported and worked for, and I helped discover, got those bitches signed, which is A Starry Night. They're a
who
good
are
band.
from they're like a goth band.
They're a goth, kind of like our version of The Cure.
They're from Miami.
Miami, and they're a bunch of cool Hispanic American guys, Cuban American type guys, and fucking they're just. If you like The Cure and you like fucking post punk and you like that kind of stuff,
You'd love a
probably Starry
really
Night. And it's called ASTARI NITE.
Yeah.
Isn't that what I said? ASTARI.
Yeah, you spelled it right.
NITE. And they got a bunch of videos out. And Jen's done several of their CD covers and some of their shirts, I think. Mm-hmm. So we've worked with them, and we see
they're
them every
super
time they
nice
come in.
dudes as well.
Yeah, good dudes. But our friend Imani was like, Tom, what's the best band in Florida? Because she was trying to get them signed through this New York label that she was hooked up with at the time. And I said, the best thing going on, in my opinion, is the Starry Night. And she signed them. Signed them to their first label. They left that label though. They went. They're now.
Well,
on
now they're on the guy.
Cleopatra?
The guy. No,
Or no,
they're
what
on. You know the guy from Das Ich?
Yeah.
What is his label called in Germany?
I don't know.
I think they're on that label now.
Okay.
Bruno Kram.
Okay.
That's that guy's name,
They've
right?
been on several labels.
Because I like Das Ich too,
Yeah.
but yeah, they're on that guy's label.
Yeah, but Astari's really good. All right, you guys.
They
probably
just
like
put a new video out a couple days ago.
Yeah.
I just saw it on the shit. Larry says, you ever hear about the first ever psychedelic rock band? Oh, 13th Floor Elevators. Yeah, that's like Rocky Erickson. I used to have... I don't know if I still have it somewhere. I have so much crap in here. But it's like... remember... I don't even remember when this was. Late 80s, early 90s. There was like a cover album, like a bunch of bands that covered Rocky Erickson songs. And I had one of that because I had heard of him because I was really into Julian Cope and the Teardrop Explodes, and Julian Cope was really into Rocky Erickson, so I got into Rocky Erickson because of that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's usually how that ended up happening.
Man, I'm just drawing a blank because I've been drinking. But what was that band? We bought their shirts, and I fucking love those dudes. And fucking, you got one of their shirts. I met them. They started playing that fucking song, and I was like, "Oh, I know who you guys are," but I hear it all the time on New Retro Wave. Remember that way? Is that
Yeah.
At Absolution.
Corrine.
Korine. Korine.
I mean, that's like if you're into like that synth
Yeah.
new retro wave is what they call it.
New
but
retro
yeah,
wave,
it sounds
right.
it's like that.
If you go on YouTube and go look up Korine with a K. Korine.
Yeah, I like them a lot too. They're also very
They're
nice
from
dudes.
up north, but I talked to them. They're fucking really cool dudes, and fucking bought a shirt from them. And but I was jamming to them before I even knew who they were. And then they showed up here to do.
We were
Absolution.
in Tampa
We were
at
in Tampa.
Absolution, like their goth festival 3 days ago.
We had to make a couple hundred T-shirts for that event. Me and Jen did, and
Wow, that was a nightmare.
Man, that was fucking. We had to do it all in one night.
Yeah.
And
I was like, with the
oh,
fucking
man.
screen for it.
So we were already fucking frazzled and shit. And then we showed up to the event, and fucking, I'm passing out all the shirts because our fucking friend ordered them all. And I'm seeing these skinny young, long-haired, fucking gender-bended motherfuckers up there singing and shit. And all of a sudden, that fucking song that I fucking love, they started playing. I was like, that's them? What was the name of it?
I can't remember the name of
Heaven's
the song.
Servant.
There you go.
Heaven's
Yeah, that's
Servant.
it.
I fucking love that song. And I mentioned Korine earlier, about a year ago on the show here, and somebody thanked me for mentioning that band. That's their favorite band now. I think they might be
they're
from.
good.
I think they might be from either Seattle or Portland. I don't remember which one
Yeah,
it
I
was.
can't remember where they're from either.
But they're real good, and they're
Because we
fucking-
talked to them a little bit, because I bought one of their shirts. Like,
If
when-
you're a Generation X and you liked the way music was, those dudes are fucking
like
great.
I said,
And
if
they're
you
young guys.
like that retro like
Yeah.
80s kind of vibe, yeah, they're really into that. Larry says, "How often do you guys do this stream?" We do a lot of
We do
streams.
streams 3 times a week.
No, more than that.
More than that?
We do a movie review on Sunday.
Yeah.
We do this one, a Haunting Mondays, even though we're not
Yeah.
even talking about a haunting anymore. We do this one. We do a movie review on Tuesdays. We do the main show on Wednesday, which is usually true crime or paranormal or weird history or something. Like, it's usually like a topic. The topic this Wednesday, by the way, is the Mormons. That's what we're going to be talking about this Wednesday. And
Okay,
then,
hold on.
and then on Friday night, we do what we call a sidetracks, which is this, which is
us talking
where we
before we
just
go
get
out.
where we just get drunk and like talk about whatever. Like
So,
it doesn't have a topic.
We're doing what we're doing that usually
Yeah.
before we're going to go out to the
So
club.
it's like 5 days a week we
Yeah.
usually do these.
Yeah.
And we put up like recorded videos at various times also.
Yeah.
Zach says, I just realized this has turned into a sidetrack show. I think
Yeah,
it's time to-
okay.
yeah.
Well, we're almost done with this. Anyway.
I mean, we were almost done with the case. I'm just
Yeah.
saying. But it's like sometimes like you guys ask questions and I get like all interested and like
Yeah.
Then Larry said, nice, I'll be tuning in for sure. Yeah, we're pretty much always on here. You can't avoid us. So there's that. But yeah, if you see the show to any extent, like we try to, well, I try to have a topic for some things. Like, for example, yesterday we did a show about Godfather 3. That was a movie talk. And I think that we kept it mostly on topic.
Yeah.
I was proud of us.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we're going to be talking about Todd Browning's Freaks from 1932. But
Are we going to see that tonight?
yeah, we gotta watch
Okay.
that tonight.
That means we're going to wrap this up because I got to cook too. What time is it?
It's 7:41.
Okay, still early.
We're almost
It
done.
feels late because it's been dark.
But
here.
yeah, well, I mean, we try to stay on topic,
Yeah.
but it doesn't usually happen. So that's initially why we started doing the sidetrack show, because I was like, oh, well, we'll get all our sidetrack energy out on this one show, but that's not how it works.
This is part of the show, though.
That's what I mean. And I kind of feel like maybe a lot of people like that, because the same people like come and tune in every like time
Yeah.
that we do this. So
It's interactive. The show is interactive.
I mean,
It's a reality show.
yeah, Larry said classic movie. I think Todd Browning did White Zombie too. I don't remember if he did White Zombie. We just did. We talked about his version of Dracula. We also talked about Spanish Dracula, because we went through a thing where we did like some 30s movies. We did The Mummy, and we did.
Yeah, Spanish Dracula is good also.
Yeah, I really like Spanish
Yeah.
Dracula. But
You guys should
I've
see
been
the
wanting to
review.
do Freaks for a really long time. So, because that's a fucking classic. That's on HBO Max. So we're gonna watch that tonight. So we're talking about that. Yeah. Larry said, yeah, man, somehow the Gorn knocked this off course. It doesn't matter what it is. It's always just something.
Yeah.
We'll take one thing and we'll just like fucking run with it. That's how shit happens.
I mean, if this shit's going to... How much longer do you think it's going to take?
I don't know. We'll see. Look at my little bar
Because
here.
I got to start getting that fucking meat
All right.
ready down there.
Yeah, he's got to cook. That's what it was. Okay, so we're gonna finish this up. I swear to God, we're gonna finish this. We're talking about haunting.
Okay.
We're almost at the end.
Okay.
This one had kind of. I'm gonna say this episode had a little bit of an anticlimactic ending. So we got like distracted by the reptilian, which understandable. I get it. So yeah, reptilian's gone. He wakes up and probably nobody even remembers what I'm talking about anymore. But he wakes up and he sees the reptilian, right? Everybody remembers that. So then like his mom is in the room too, but she's sleeping. So he goes over there and he's like, oh my God, there's like a fucking reptilian like next to my cot. But she won't wake up for
Did you say
whatever
reptilian
reason.
next to my cock?
No, cot.
Okay, all right, yeah.
You just thought there was a
fucking
reptilian
fun.
next to your cock.
Gotta
There's a
really-
little reptilian
Damn.
right there.
Damn.
That's what That's what you were thinking. But yeah, so his mom won't wake up. So he dives back into his cot and he just like pulls a blanket over his head because he's 8. What the fuck. So he later tells his mom, he's like, look, oh my God, I saw like a dude in a hood that like looked like the Gorn or whatever. But of course she doesn't believe him because she's a mom and that's what they do. They don't believe you when you say crazy shit like that. So at this point, Mary, who's the daughter, and Wesley, who's the son, they kind of like compare notes and they're just like, man, I've seen some fucked up shit. And she's like, yeah, I saw some fucked up shit too. And they're like, maybe we should tell mom. And it's like, look, we've already told mom and she doesn't like believe us. So fuck that shit. Now, the kid, like the 8-year-old, he's like, we probably need to get the fuck out of this house right away because this is probably really bad. But Mary, she said she was really, really into the house. Like, she really loved it in spite of all the creepy shit that was going on there. But she said that she was afraid that something bad was going to happen to Wesley. But as the narrator points out, the ghosts aren't after Wesley. They're after her instead. You know what I mean? Because you know how Anthony Cole does. That's what the narrator's name on A Haunting is, in case you didn't know. He's fucking iconic, that voice. So one morning, this was actually like a pretty good scene. One morning, like a few months after they moved into this house, Mary wakes up and she finds out that she has fallen asleep on the living room couch, which, that happens. Now, she keeps hearing like a banging sound, like the same sound that's like, oh, it's the ghost guy with the cane or whatever. And so the old man is like apparently like standing behind the thing and he's like yelling at her to get up. Like, why would the ghost care? I don't know. But she thinks it's just a dream at first. Like, she thinks that she sees him and he's making all this noise. But then, like, he starts whacking at her legs with the cane, right?
Smacking, yeah.
Right. So she thinks she's dreaming, and she kind of like rolls over to go back to sleep, but she's like screaming at her, it's like, stop it, stop it, stop it. And then like apparently she says that out loud because then her parents like rush in, or like, what the fuck, what's going on? Like, because they were up getting ready to go to work or whatever, and she's like, you know, nothing, I was just like dreaming. But she said when she woke up, she saw the ghost guy standing right next to her mom, but the parents apparently don't see him. She's like, he was right there, like standing right next to him. So her mom's just like, whatever, I just got to go to work. Now her dad's like, okay, I'm going to go make you some breakfast. But then like looks at the backs of her legs, and there's like bruises. She said it was like bruises all over the backs because, you know, the guy had been like hitting her in the legs with a cane or whatever. So he's like, where did that come from? And she's basically, oh, I don't know. He's like, what do you mean you don't know? I don't know. I don't know where it came from. Because, like, you know, she didn't want to tell him because she thought he wouldn't believe her, obviously. But yeah, so the ghost is like beating the shit out of her. So that's not cool. So at this point, the dad is like, okay, well, obviously there's something really weird going on in this place. So let's all like have a little family meeting or whatever. So they all kind of get together and compare notes about what's been going on. So Barry and Wesley, the two kids, they tell their parents everything. And then, plot twist, it turns out that their mom, Carol, has also been experiencing creepy shit. She said, like for a while, she says, oh yeah, well, I've been also sensing presences in the house and hearing angry voices in the hallway. And I was like, and all this time you've been like making your kids believe that they were crazy, or that like you didn't believe them and you were experiencing that shit too? That's like not cool, but whatever. I guess she was scared and that's why she was pretending, but still, that's still not cool. Now the dad, whose name is Jesse, in case I didn't mention that, he has actually not experienced anything mainly because he seems like he's at work all the time, so he's not home a lot. But he still thinks that something weird is going on, and obviously his whole entire family is really upset about shit. So he's like, well, I don't really know what to do. So it's 1983. So let's go to the church for help, because that's what you do, like in the movies or whatever. So Carol and Mary, they go to the local minister later that day. But they both said, yeah, this motherfucker was like no help, essentially, because they're like, he was really skeptical. He was very not supportive, and he really didn't really seem to give that much of a shit about their story, like didn't believe them. So he's basically like, yeah, well, you know, just read some shit out of the Bible, especially like the Jesus-y bits, and it'll all be fine. Whatever. Get out of here. Get out of my office. I have priestly shit to do, evidently. I don't know. I'm making that up. So later on in the house, Jesse, the dad, he's like, okay, well, we'll do that. So he gets the Bible, and he starts reading out of it with all the Jesus-y bits, just like the priest said to do. But he's only been reading for a couple of minutes when something apparently like burned his hands. Like it seemed like, I don't know, it made like a kind of a burning noise, like on the reenactment. And then like snatches the Bible out of his hands, and it sends it flying all the way across the room and into the next room. And they said these are big rooms too, so it went all the way out that room and like into the next room.
Went into 2 rooms.
It went into 2 rooms. Like she just picked up the Bible and was like, shoo, fuck that Bible. It was just kind of like that. So at this point, Wesley, the 8-year-old, he's like, holy shit, this thing must be like super, super powerful. It can throw, you know, a Bible across 2 rooms. So not knowing what else to do, Jesse then calls his own sister, whose name is also Mary, which is very confusing. So I think like the rest of the movie, or the rest of the episode, they just called her Aunt Mary because the daughter's name is also Mary. So, you know, I guess that's who she's named after. So Aunt Mary, you know, she kind of like claims to be like an empath or a psychic or whatever. So she kind of comes over, and she evidently immediately senses that something is the matter with the house, and she wants to go up to the attic because that's where she kind of feels pulled toward or whatever. So she goes in there, and she's like, oh my god, this fucking shit is so evil. It's that kind of thing. And then, as somebody mentioned earlier on, she pulls back the rug, and guess what's under there, you guys? A pentagram. Yeah, this is like the... There are so many haunting episodes where they pull back a rug and find a pentagram. Well, and I kind of feel like in the show, here's what I think happened. In the reenactment, they show the rug was just like an area rug, right? And she pulls up the rug, and it's like, oh my god, a pentagram. And I was like, well... If that area rug wasn't there before, then obviously when you moved into the house, you would have noticed that there was a pentagram, like a red pentagram painted on the floor, right? But I think what happened in real life, if this really happened, which I doubt, but I think that the rug was like a, you know, like wall-to-wall carpeting, And it's like, well, we don't want to film it where somebody has to pull up wall-to-wall carpeting, for Christ's sake, and, like, finding a fucking pentagram under there. So it's like, because an area rug, like, you know, you would pull that up. You would not get, but yeah. So I get it. But yeah, so they roll up the thing and they're like, oh my God, a pentagram, it's evil. So, you know, apparently nobody had noticed this before. So Aunt Mary says, oh my God, I feel really bad energy. We have to get out of here. But then she starts like choking or gasping for air or something like that. So she believes she has some kind of vision or something, that there's some coven that was here and they had done some rituals like baby sacrifice like they showed earlier, and had summoned a demon who was the reptilian, apparently, and that the reptilian demon had in turn trapped the creep show old guy's spirit in the house also. You got that?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like a complicated ghost system that they have going here. She also thinks, I don't know why we laughed so hard at this, but we did. But she also thinks the demon is trying to possess Mary and would probably, they did use this word, probably, make her kill her whole family.
Yeah, we were tripping during this.
Or set fire to the house with all of them in it. And I was just like, and you just...
Where'd you get this? Yeah.
I mean, that seems a little extreme, like right out the gate.
Yeah.
Well, there's a demon in here, and maybe they're trying to like possess you or something. Oh, and probably you would kill your whole family.
Yeah.
Somebody's read the Amityville Horror, is what I think.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's going a little far.
that's what I mean. And the grown-up Mary
Scaring
was
the
just
shit
kind
out
of
of
some,
you.
yeah, I would have probably killed my whole family or set the
Yeah.
house on. I'm like,
Yeah.
would you?
Okay.
All right.
That's never been recorded. That's never
I
been
mean,
observed. Yeah.
that seems a little, that's a little out there.
Usually a possessed person just rolls around, talks a bunch of shit, and you gotta hold them down.
Every now and then, maybe they float. or
RSP, fucking recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis and shit. Yeah.
masturbate with a crucifix every
Yeah.
now and then. You know
Yeah.
how they do. But yeah, just I don't know. I just thought that was funny that it's like, oh, the demon might possess you, and they just immediately jump to, and you'll kill your whole family. And I was just kind of like, God damn it. All right.
Yeah.
So Aunt Mary, because she thinks that, you know, the little Mary is going to kill her whole family, you guys need to get the fuck out of this house, like, right away. And so apparently Jesse and Carol, the parents, they're just like, okay, can do. So they just like start immediately packing up. Like they listen, we're going to get out of here, which is not something that usually happens in these cases. They're like, oh, we can't move. They're just like, yeah, we're getting the fuck out of here. But they said Mary, though, she suddenly felt she said she felt very calm and like unworried. Like she wasn't afraid anymore. Like she didn't want to leave the house, but she couldn't like explain why she didn't want to leave. So she basically begged her parents to let them stay there. But they were just kind of like, yeah, no, that's not happening. You're going to kill us all. So they basically just like herded her out of the house. Because come on, we're going. Now Mary wonders, now that she's grown up and she's on the show being interviewed, she said she kind of wondered if the house was making her feel that love for the place, like to keep her from leaving and to like get her into that place where it was like seducing her essentially, like the demon. I guess that's what she was speculating about. Because she said when they were leaving, she had the feeling like she didn't care if any of them made it out alive, and that maybe the demon in the house had like sucked out her will to live and had like made her be obsessed with the house or care more about the house than she did about her family, maybe. You know what I mean? That's what she speculated about that later. So for a few weeks after they move out, because like I said, they moved down, they were like, fuck that place, because like I said, they were just renting it from the company that the guy worked for. So they split up for a few weeks to kind of live with different relatives until they could find another place to move into. 2 years later, in 1985, the house got torn down. I'm not really sure why. It seems like, why would they tear it down? Because it seemed like, from what they said, it seemed like it was in okay condition. So I don't really know if something bad happened in those 2 years. I couldn't really find anything about it. Years later, Mary and her aunt, whose name was also Mary, and Wesley, who became a paranormal investigator later on, he was actually the director of Branson Paranormal, which I'm assuming is in Branson, Missouri, or at least was until a couple years ago, I think. They researched the house's history and discovered that there had been rumors that a coven met there. I'm like, well, that doesn't mean that there was a coven there. That just meant that people were talking about a coven being there. And also that there was a man with a cane who was killed in the house. I don't know if he was murdered or what the fuck the deal was, but they said that in the thing. So I was like, that seems a little wishy-washy, but okay. Mary said at the end that she still loved that house in spite of all the shit that happened there, and that if she won the lottery today, she would build a house just like it, even though like all that scary shit happened there. Now, when I did like some outside, there wasn't a lot of outside info about this, but as I said, the son, who was 8 during these events, whose name is Wesley Fox, he became a paranormal investigator later, which happens a lot with some of these. Now, he wrote a book about this case, which is called House of Echoes, Nightmare in the Attic. And that was published in 2018. He also wrote one called Deliver Us from Evil, A Family's True Haunting. That came out in 2015, and that was about a different family called the Cupid family, who were also on another episode of a haunting that was called Child's Play, which maybe we should do that one next, because now I'm kind of interested. Right. And actually, I think that book is available for free on Kindle Unlimited, so maybe I could actually read that book and see what was going on with that. Because I checked it out, and I kind of skimmed through it, but I was just kind of like, well, this isn't about that case, so I was like, I'll read this later. And from just a cursory read, and maybe we'll get into this in a second, the book is super, super Christian-y.
Okay.
So I kind of feel like that happens a lot on these shows. You get like these super, super Christian-y, because it's kind of a trope in Christian literature to be like, I grew up in a house that had a demon in it, and I vanquished it, or we ran away from it, or whatever, and then they write a book about it later on, like after they become, like, I feel like that's kind of a thing, and especially with people that turn up on this show. So I'm just saying that kind of happened. I'm not saying like shit didn't happen. I'm just saying that happens a lot.
That's their well, you know what I mean, something might happen, and so they're going to go to religion, because that's what your average culture is going to be like. Now, you might go to parapsychology also, depending on what part of the country you're from. So it makes sense that they go to religion.
Yeah.
Because they see something invisible. So it's paranormal. Anything paranormal is fucking spiritual. You know, that's, it's you know.
And
fucking electricity, seeing a spark would have been confused with seeing something paranormal back in the Roman era.
Demons.
Oh my God. Yeah, you see a spark? Yeah, shit. Fucking, that was an angel. Or, it was not, well, they wouldn't have said angel back then. They would have said that was a Titan.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Or some kind of a demon. Yeah.
I noticed too, I went to Wesley Fox's Facebook page, and apparently he had a massive stroke in June of 2022.
He's the guy who wrote this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he was the son.
The son? Okay.
And he's grown up on this episode.
All right.
And I haven't seen, like, he hasn't posted anything since then. Like he said, I had a massive stroke, but I'm okay, or whatever. But it's like, I don't think he's posted anything since then. And he had a link to his website, like, on his page. But I went to it, and it was somebody else's blog. Like, somebody that played piano or something.
Okay.
So, I don't know if the dude is still around.
He may not be around anymore.
I'm just saying, you know, I don't know how that worked out. But that was pretty much the only stuff that I found, like, outside about this kind of case. Like I said, if we do... Maybe we should do Child's Play next week.
We'll do Child's Play, yeah.
Because then I can read, because I checked this book out, like on my Kindle Unlimited.
Okay.
The guy, because apparently this dude investigated that case, which also turned up on a hunt. I think that was also season 7.
Okay.
So I think
it makes sense to do that one
probably
next.
have it. So maybe we'll do that one next, and I can read that book and get like some more info about it.
So you hungry?
Yeah,
Let me
I guess
go down
so.
there and start getting ready for this meal.
All right.
I gotta get the damn pork tenderloin ready.
Gotta get the pork tenderloin.
Yeah.
That's what he's making down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Tammy said. Usually food knocks them off course.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
usually
yeah,
does,
yeah.
But not always. I mean, anything can do
Yeah.
it, really. Because we have, like, ADD. You know how we do. But yeah, so thank you, everybody, for dropping by today. Like I said, we will be back again tomorrow talking about Todd Browning's Freaks, which we are going to be watching later on. Because that was the one that tied with Godfather 3. In the Patreon poll. And if you're not a patron, then you can go there and you can vote on what movies we talk about. So that's like pretty neat. So yeah, so we're going to be talking about Freaks tomorrow. Thank you everybody for coming by. Thank you for super chats. And we will see you guys again tomorrow. Good night.